So if you could, I've got to share the screen. I've almost forgotten how to do this now.
It's been a long time since we've seen you, sis.
Yeah. Let's see
Fantastic. We
if
can't wait for your breakdown today.
so do we have that?
We've got it clear, sister. We've
Right,
got
I
it with you.
need to get onto the share screen. Ooh. Right, that's the bit I'm not quite sure. If I press this one here. Aha. Brilliant. I think I'm there, Brother Andrew. I think I'm there, family. Okay, so it's been a bit of a while since I was last on, but during that time, brothers and sisters, I've been doing a lot of reading and I found out so many things that I really want to share with us. I've got weeks and weeks of it now, really, because it's been quite incredible, the information that is out there that we really need to have an understanding about. And so tonight's moment of insight is, as titled it, as I've said there, is that truth bears no fear. And I just want to remind us, because we are a people, just generally in society now, who have become very fearful. We might have moments of strength, but collectively, we're kind of in this fear. We fear truth. We fear we can't see the truth. We don't know the truth. Sometimes we can't even recognize the truth when it's in front of us. And this is all a part of the Hegelian dialectic agenda for us, for those of you who were with me a month or so ago, and this concept of two opposing views seeming right at the same time. It allows truth and error to run side by side and for us not to know the difference. So I put here the image of Lady Justice. We know her of Lady Justice, and we often see, or mostly see, this image at courthouses or outside courthouses around the world. Her name is actually Themis. She's the ancient Greek goddess of law, order, and justice. I describe her as a perversion of Ma'at, as we know Ma'at. So there you can see the similarities with the scales, and the scales that she holds represent both sides of the argument needs to be looked at. And then what you can't see in this image is the double-edged sword, the sword that shows respect for the law and to enforce the law. And Lady Justice, it means Lady Justice is going to enforce the decision of the law by any means necessary. That's the sword that she holds. But what is quite interesting is the blindfold that she wears. Now, that's an addition, or an interesting addition, that came in about the 16th century. That means, but before, when the blindfold was first introduced in the 16th century, it was a recognition that the law and truth and justice was not really fair, and it was not really considerate of all sides and was unbiased. But in modern times, the blindfold has come to mean impartiality, objectivity of the law, and it has a meaning that no outside influences, no politics, no money, no fame will influence truth, right, and justice. But we know about the law around it. We see how it impacts on us. And I was listening to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and he makes a point to say that truth is decided by whoever can give the best argument. So truth is not always truth. It's all about who's presenting the truth and who can get the most information or speak the best. So truth bears no fear is important for us because truth is what we are about. So over the past weeks, we've been looking at critical theory of the Frankfurt School that started in about the early 1920s in Germany. And critical theory is all about advancing ideas in national and lately in global philosophy, global anthropology, and anthropology is a study of societies, cultures, and their development. It's about it advances ideas in sociology about society and its organization, but it's a manipulating organization which builds on the ancient Greek philosophy of which the West or Europe claims is the foundation of its civilization. In fact, they called Plato the Greek prophet of Western civilization. So The critical theorist is all about engineering society globally into a certain way of being and a certain way of living. And how do they do this? They do this by influencing in many areas. And some of the key areas is about breaking the link between God and man. It's about destroying the efficiency of culture. There's many cultures across the world that are running efficiently, but their purpose is to destroy that. And it's about destroying the role and the place of males in society, and also it's about destroying the family, whether that's the family's the home or the family centered around the church. That's its key areas. And today we're going to go, as I said, further into the belly of the beast, and we're going to be entering Dante's 9 circles of hell, or looking at Plato's cave, and in more modern times we'll be going into the matrix. But one thing we know as a people, that in the land of the blind, the third-eyed man is king, and it is critical that we exercise our third eye. So as we go into the session today and going forward, we really need to pray for wisdom and protection from our ancestors to be with us, and for the opening of our inner eye. Because as Brother Andrew says every week, we have to unlearn what we have learned, but we also need to know what to do to fill that vacant space with true knowledge, true wisdom, and true understanding. So, and I know Reverend Shock is going to come on, and he's going to talk to us about remapping the African mind and how we can fill that space there. Now, as we enter this door, and this is the door of how critical theorists think about people and think about ourselves. In one of their lectures, I was reading one of their conferences, and here's part of the transcript. Such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny. Otherwise, it might be recognized as a technical formal declaration of domestic war. And it goes on to say, you, and that's the people in the conference, have qualified for this project because of your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity. And this is the door of the enemy of which we're now going to go into. And those of you who are at Brother Andrew's They Live breakdown, this is definitely one of those times where we need to put on our They Live sunglasses. Because the quote I've just read goes on to say, in the interest of future world order, peace and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the public with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined and responsible and worthy few. And those few being the critical theorists and being the elite. So that is where we're actually starting. So critical theorists and the elite, they strive to bring elements of society under total control. And the more I go on, the more you will see it for yourselves. And they are all about training and assigning a lifelong yoke of social duties onto our young people from a very early age, before our children have the consciousness to question the reasons why. And this happens in education and through the media. So we as adults need to be aware, and we need to be protecting, and we need to be guiding our young people. Critical theorists are all about getting social conformity of the family unit. It needs to be disintegrated by a process of increasing the preoccupation of us as parents. Our need to work in order to reach, as they describe it, consumer paradise. And the establishment we see now of government nurses, government nurseries for the occupationally orphaned is how they describe our children. And we see this now as government provide more hours of free nursery places, the reduction of paid maternity leave. When I had maternity leave in education, 25 years or so ago, you could get 7 months at full pay. You could never even dream of that today. Also, the curriculum and how Ofsted is working. And we believe that all of these things are going on because we've called for it, but we have just triggered something that was already in place. In critical theory, it's about engineering the quality of education that is given to the lower and to the middle classes, to be of the poorest sort. And what I mean by being at the poorest sort, yes, GCSEs are the same for everyone, but the opportunities that are made available, how to learn to be critical thinkers themselves, training them and getting them to understand what it means to be an entrepreneur, challenging their thoughts and their creativities. These things are not taught in mainstream schools in the way that they're taught within the private sector. And this moat of ignorance separates the classes and it's invisible to us. We don't see it. And with this handicap in mind, even the brightest of our children sometimes have little hope of extricating themselves from the assigned role that is put upon them and their life. So we need to be really conscious of this and our work with our young people and the way we, as they describe it, orphan them out to the system. So we're also caught up in this, and often because we don't know what is happening even to us, because as it happens around us and so gradually we become desensitized and we accept things. And we might feel within ourselves that something is wrong, but because we can't put our finger on it, we don't know how to express ourselves in a rational way with any level of real intelligence or force. And when any silent weapon, such as a philosophy or ideology, is applied gradually, we just adapt it or adjust to it, and we adjust to its presence, and we learn to just tolerate it and its encroachment on our life. And this type of silent weapon is, as critical theorists describe in their own words, biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, options, and mobility of the individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, and attacking their sources, that's our sources of natural and social energy, and that's our physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weaknesses. So this is their mission and their purpose in their own words. So critical theorists and the elite, and people are probably thinking, well, who do you mean by the elite? I'm talking about people like Rockefellers and the Gates family, the royal family, the Rothschilds, Monsanto Foods, and Merck, who deal with medication, those sorts of things. Those big groups, they know that regardless of the quality of education that is trying to limit us, they recognize also that we are going to get smarter and see what is happening, but they are constantly preparing to keep us dumbed down. The speed with which they can communicate their warning to the public will largely depend on how effective we have been, that's them, at controlling the media, subverting education, and keeping the public distracted with matters of no real importance. So this is their mission. And remember, those of you who were with me a few weeks ago, the elite plan up to 120 years or so in advance. They're not like us who plan at most 5 years in advance. They're planning up to 120 years in advance. So they're dead before the impact is felt by us. So by which time there's nobody to feel guilty, there's no body to hold to account, there's no way to call for reparations. And this is drawing on that Hegelian dialectic method of thesis. This is the problem. Antithesis, this is our cry for help, and synthesis, the answer that is given to us. You see, critical theory is not just about color. It is also about class, which means we're even lower yet again. And the lessons that were put in place following Bacon's rebellion in 1976 in America, which led to the intervention of whiteness. When we come to look at that, we will see how the elite use their own people as collateral damage, as well as a shield against us as a people. So just looking at today, COVID-19 has brought with it loss of work, a loss of income, increased reliance on the state. And what we've got to understand, brothers and sisters, is to the elite, benefits, and I'm not just talking about state benefits, but the benefits even such as furlough, such as credit cards, such as mortgages, benefits are considered nothing more, in their own words, an open-ended credit for those in receipt of it. It is to provide a roof over our heads, put food on our tables, to educate our children, provide healthcare as they see fit. We then become state property in return for these benefits, these state gifts, and they then see us as a standing army for them. So critical theorists and elite think very differently to how we think and perceive even those in a class above us. They recognize that we don't have the discipline or the restraint.
Adele, I know you hate it when I jump in, but Adele, you just dropped a bomb on us. Please, are you saying that all this credit they give us is making us their army at the end of the day?
Yes, in their own words, it is they describe it as a standing army for the elite. It's not my words, Brother Andrew. So they recognize that we don't have the discipline of restraint. They recognize that we, and not just Black people, but society in general, we are greedy. We're striving for consumer paradise. That's how they describe it, which is credit, welfare. And these are our new drug addiction. They recognize that we as Black people have no economic understanding, not even, you know, like the Asians and the Chinese. They have some level of economic understanding, but Wall Street is not Black Wall Street is no longer a threat to them, because they feel we as the people don't have an understanding of that anymore. And in order to manage national and global economics, the critical theorists and the elite, they are taking control of national and global ideology. And those I mentioned a few weeks back, the Tavistock Institute, they are also about engineering how society is supposed to be. They call it the quiet warfare, and they do this by a process of benevolent or well-meaning slavery and genocide. And this again is their language, Brother Andrew, it's not my language, my words. And as Black people, we are seen as the disabled people. We are the community, and we can see it. We receive the most benefits. We have the lowest entrance and success at higher education level. We have the lowest income. We have the greatest consumer addiction. We do everything to fit in and assimilate. We have our own form of crime, Black on Black violence. We distrust each other. We have the worst healthcare outcomes. We don't support each other, and we have zero economics, really. And that's how we are viewed. And I was looking at the statistics, and this is statistics for 2020. So remember, we were still in COVID lockdown at the time. It says that the BAME community spent £300 billion, of which 95% of that was spent outside of the BAME communities. 88 million was spent on Black hair products, but Black business only generated 10 billion of that 300 billion. So we can see the condition that we're in. We can see we are not a threat. So Brother Andrew, when you're promoting Marshall and Brown and One Stop and Sister Claudia Mohammed's products, these things are essential so that we can start creeping out of that and start creeping up the economic agenda as we need to do. So the Black pound needs to stay with us for much longer, and we talk about that a lot. The elite believe in the Darwinian model of survival of the fittest, the fastest, the smartest, and the strongest. And they believe that is who they are. They say, quote, At this point, it should be crystal clear to the reader, this was reading the notes of the conference, why absolute secrecy about the silenced weapons is necessary. The general public refuses to improve its mentality. It has become a herd of proliferating barbarians, and so to speak, a blight upon the face of the earth. They do not care enough about economic science to learn why solutions to earthly problems are unreachable by them. And until we can come together and supporting Hidden Truths and the people who come onto the Hidden Truths platform, WYLA and Manhood Academy and the like, One Stop, Marshall and Brown, etc., then we will remain in this trap because we're not learning the art of economics. It's a serious situation. So I just want to move on to shock testing. I don't know if we have any aviation or aviation engineering people on the platform today, but shock testing was a process used on World War II planes where they subjected the plane to assess its impact of vibrational stress after a gun or a missile was fired from it. They needed to see how stable that plane would remain in the air and not fall out of the air, or remain in the sky and not fall out of the sky after a gun or a missile was fired from it. Because we know there's always that kickback when guns and missiles are fired. We can see that in video clips. So this was something to test planes. Now, critical theories have copied this model, and they claim it itself. That's how I found out about it, to study the behavior of the economy through public response by choosing a product. And that product could be something like meat, petrol, disease, unemployment. And what they do is they cause a sudden change or a sudden shock in its price, its availability, or its impact to upset the public's budget, or to upset our buying habits, or to upset our state of mind, to see how we will respond. How far can we be pushed? What is the purpose, you may ask? It is to acquire the know-how to set the economy into a state of change, including a self-destructive state, to convince the public that the experts need to take control of the situation and re-establish the money or the economic situation. And this is also true for shock testing with crime, shock testing with health, shock testing with education, shock testing with employment. And we know that we are affected most by this. And then because of the circumstances we find ourselves in. And so this allows them to manage the security system, the policing system, to manage employment, to manage education, to manage health, and to reduce our liberty. And that way we become totally enslaved. But again, it's this whole Hegelian dialectic. Here's the problem, the thesis. We cry out for the antithesis, solve the problem, and we are given the synthesis and given the solution, and we say thank you for that. But it was already planned from the start. Now, one thing I discovered regarding shock testing, that scientifically it has been found that there's a direct relationship between the psychological outlook and response of people under shock testing. And they found that they have found that where they've affected or shock tested the price of petrol, for example, there is a higher probability through their own science that a person will experience headaches, feel the need to watch a violent film, smoke, or drink alcohol. Now, how they check that, I guess they do it in a psychological and human testing center, but they have worked out that there's a direct relationship, and look at the direct relationship. So on mental health, smoking habits, drinking habits, and what we watch. So shock testing, and I'm just going to go on now and talk about global COVID-19. Is that global shock testing is the question. And I'm going to suggest, Brother Andrew, family, that it is. What is it global, or what is it shock testing for? And I'm going to go right out there and say, I think it's shock testing for one world government, one world economy, one world food provider, one world health, one world army, one world culture, one world news. We already have the World Health Organization. We already have the United Nations. We already have Associated Press, which manages news. We already have Monsanto, that is the leaders in food production. And the whole what we have to look at, and why am I saying this is a form of shock testing? Because the whole world is simultaneously on a global lockdown. The whole world is simultaneously wearing masks. The whole world is globally in a vaccination program. The whole world is globally in queuing at supermarkets and shops.
Girl, you're dropping bombs, sister. You're dropping bombs, sister. You're dropping some serious bombs. This has serious connotations, what you're saying tonight.
Absolutely, Brother Andrew. The whole world is also globally under a penalty and restriction of movement. The whole world is globally educating children at home. The whole world is globally moving to working from home. And the whole world is globally shifting how employment and unemployment works. So it has proven that people through fear or through force will do as they are told with little or no resistance. And where there is resistance, distractions are brought in. Me Too, Black Lives Matter, police brutality, kick it out racism. So we have to look at when things are released into the news and how they're released into the news. These things are engineered to have a specific impact which we won't know about. And so this brings me on to something else, brothers and sisters. A few weeks ago, I was talking about we need more of our young people studying philosophy and studying psychology, because these are the things that lead the world, not money. The critical theorists are all about philosophy and psychology. I would say we need more of our young people studying to be actuaries. And that's about using maths and statistics to estimate the financial impact of uncertainty. So that's a form of shock testing, insurance and pension. And as I looked into actually the median salary, and for those of you who know your maths, median salary is £100,000 a year, but it takes 7 to 10 years to become fully qualified. After you've done your degree, you still have 4 to 5 years to pass the 10 actuarial exam. Now, how many of our young people want to study for up to 10 years, want to be in debt financially up to 10 years, and be stuck in an institutionally racist system for up to that amount of time? But actuary is where a lot of these decisions are made, and it's important that we start entering in that field. So critical theorists believe that advertising is the simplest form of economic engineering. But whereas the Honourable Malcolm X describes media and advertising as the most powerful entity on earth, they have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. They control the minds of the masses. What critical theorists say is due to suggestibility, he will with certain probability respond or react to that suggestion with the uncritical response of a 12-year-old. So if a person is spoken to, they say that if a person is spoken to by a TV advertiser, if he were a 12-year-old, then due to suggestibility, he will with certain probability respond or react to that suggestion with the uncritical response of a 12-year-old, and then will reach into his economic reservoirs and deliver its energy to buy that product on impulse when he passes it by in a store.
Hey, Rotom Plastic, anyone? What does it taste like? Like fire and a little bit of electricity. Okay, my one tasted of craziness and all of like the things in the world, and it tastes amazing. I like this fizzy one the best. You got fantastic face. No, I haven't.
So I just played that advert there and brothers and sisters, because that we can see the youthfulness in that. I used to love those fantastic adverts. I thought it was brilliant how they did that. But that in itself is for purpose, because if you can, so when advertising is being done, it's about appealing to our mind, our child state mind. Because in our child state mind, we seek this instant or immediate gratification. It's not appealing to our mature mind, because advertising keeps us in that child state, because in our child mind, we are selfish and we are greedy. And so newspapers and educations also promote and motivate this. We know the reading age of the Sun newspaper is 8 years old. The Guardian is 14 years old. And it's not just about the ability to read. This includes the ability to comprehend and make sense of what we are reading. And the average reading, including comprehension age of adults in UK in 2019 is said to be 9 years old. So it's still very, very safe to keep things hidden in the written word, because even if we can read the word, do we fully comprehend it? And the classic example is when we upgrade our phone, how many of us read the 10, 12, 20 pages that we have to go through? We just go to the bottom and press I agree. And that is because our young minds, how advertising is used, appeals to the instant gratification. So when we're looking at adverts, be conscious that it's appealing to a state of mind. It's not appealing to the product itself, because if we can appeal to that state of mind, advertisers know we are going to go for it. So other symptoms, other systems of control that critical theorists use, it's keeping us ignorant of the facts. For instance, reporting in COVID-19. They report to us how many people have died within X amount of days of receiving a COVID vaccination. It doesn't mean it has anything to do with COVID, but they're linking that all together. Another system is creating preoccupation in our mind. So our work preoccupies and distracts us. Forms of entertainment distracts us. They use it by attacking the family, so empowering women's rights while criminalizing our men. Another form of control, I've already mentioned it, is about giving credit, because credit then enslaves us into the payback. When I was young, you couldn't buy a car on lease. Now all young people are buying their cars on lease, so they're entrapped in the system. Back in the early days, your phone, you had to buy pay as you go. Now we're all on contract. So it's all about this credit system. Another form of control is social conformity. We accept out of force and fear. We become desensitized. We see this in vaccination. We see this in education. All of these are diversions from the bigger picture. So critical theorists, ideology, and the elite understand that the best method of gaining and keeping control is in our youth. It's about keeping our youth undisciplined, ignorant, confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance. And how are they doing this to our young people? By disengaging the minds of the youth and sabotaging their opportunities through substandard education or incomplete education, so that they can never be set free. It doesn't allow them to see the bigger picture, and it keeps them dumbed down. They do this by engaging our youth's emotions and increasing their self-indulgence with this constant barrage of sexuality and violence in the media. We could call this rape of the mind, really, because the media is just taking their mind away. They do this by giving our youth what they think they desire, and giving them in excess rather than what they need. And I call this junk food for the mind. And they do this by rewriting our history, rewriting and changing laws, and subjecting our youth to some kind of deviant and perverse creations of what life is all about, which shifts their thinking from the truth. And for those of you who many months back, I spoke about the banner that hung down the side of the school in Haringey, claiming that the Honourable Malcolm X was bisexual. And that is what we're now feeding our young people. We need to get our history, because it's only going to come truthfully from us. Critical theorists hold the view that the general rule is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer the solutions. And that is the position that they hold. The media keeps our attention away from real social issues and keeps us captivated by things that don't matter. Schools are not teaching the maths we need for life. They're not teaching the real economy. That's real maths. That's for empowerment. They're not teaching us the real laws that give us justice. They're not teaching us our real history that gives us knowledge of self. And so our youth cannot create and sustain themselves as young adults. The entertainment that we're given is keeping us entertained at a year 7, which is a 12, 13-year-old level of comprehension. And our work is keeping us so busy, we have no time to think. And so the critical theory ideology is knew that through education and through communication, that eventually we would start to see through this and aspire to a higher, former life. And they see this as a threat. So what they're doing to postpone this is by engineering for us, and listen very carefully, engineering us to seek consent for our rights rather than taking our rights. Because seeking consent for our rights requires us to get distracted by doing A, B, and C, going here, challenging this person, when really we should be taking what is rightfully ours. So the artificial womb. So those of you who were with me a few weeks ago, I was speaking about Bachofen and Otto Gross and the ideology of the Great Mother. As a start, for those of you who are with Brother Andrew, when he looked in of the goddess Astarte, and she is about creating within us and within our children a dependency on desire and greed and instant gratification. And what this does to our young people, it makes them refuse to take responsibility for their decisions and actions. And they say, from the time a child leaves its mother's womb, its every effort is directed towards building, maintaining, and withdrawing it into artificial wombs. So if those of you who grasp that, the power of that is taking them out of our wombs as mothers and putting them into the womb of the great Astarte, into this great mother society. And our youth are made to be so afraid to fail that they put their excuses on labels that have been forced on them. So I work with children, ASD, ODD, PDA, FSM, all sorts of labels, because what it is, it's delegating responsibility to others on their behalf. I call this teaching our children to fail in style, because our young people then have a lack of self, and they also have a lack of resilience. And the elite are happy for politicians, because politicians are not the elite, but they're happy for politicians to be the artificial parent. And we become complicit in this, in adopting them as parents. And we already use this term, the nanny state. So where does this leave our men? And where does it leave our boys if we're living in a nanny state? This artificial matriarchy, where our men there are emasculated at every level. And then we as women choose or are engineered to choose the state as our protector and as our provider. It's almost like the Stockholm syndrome, where we fall in love with our captor. And the theorist recognizes the power of the family and the power of real men and the power especially of Black men. So they need to keep our men weak within society, because they have to ensure that the man of the household must be housebroken to ensure that Junior will grow up with the right social training and attitudes. That Junior is the sons. Now I looked up, I went into the dictionary to define what does it mean to be housebroken. So the term housebroken in the dictionary reads as this: to train cats and dogs to urinate and defecate in a litter box or outside. So this is the term that is driven behind that statement that you see written there, and it's about raising Junior, our sons, in this same way, and for our girls, therefore, to accept men like that in their lives. And so we ensure, or they ensure, that the media portray men as weak. They portray men as violent abusers of women, or we show our men as being effeminate. And when our black men are in positions of power, they're always just that little bit below the European male. They are making males or men believe that women only want security from them. Not that we want love, not that we want principles, or not that we want honorable behavior. All that we want is security. And they're engineering us as women to think that way. And so so the last thing and the most serious thing is that they want this anger and shame and helplessness that our men are having put upon them, that they are less than men, makes him put the gun and the violence into the hands of the sons so that they fight back on the men's behalf. And so our young men are now becoming the abusers, involved in the domestic violence, having these horrific terms and for women, and using women as sexual objects. So the plan is there and has been there, and we fall into it, and we're led to believe it's for some other reasons other than what the truth is, that is the plan all along. And it's not just about our men, it's about women, because with our men reduced to nothing more than social servitude, you can call it, what do the theorists have in store for us? So they say a woman must, however, be conditioned to accept the transition to reality when it comes, or sooner. And what is that? They say that we live, as women, we live our life through emotions without logic, because of course, as women, we have an emotional side, whereas the men have the logical side. We both have both, but we are stronger in one than the other. So without the men, we are left to just the emotions. They say that when we think about our children, that we as women, we think about our children in the now moment, and we don't think about their future. We think about their future second. They say as the family disintegrates, the women turn to the education system from as early as 1 year old. It goes back to that childhood orphanage, as they call it. It says that as women, we then have to go out to work, we orphan out our children to the system, and then we detach more and more from raising them in our own values, in our own principles, in our own history and our own heritage. And they also say they believe that we should do it that women need to learn how to do this on our own without men being around. And they're getting us to believe, and we do believe in many cases, that our men are not educated enough, or our men are not aspirational enough, or our men are not making enough money, or our men are not man enough. But in so doing that, if we think like that, we are preparing our boys to believe that that's what they are and who they are to become. And so we are teaching our girls more and more to reject our boys before our boys even become men. And if we look at what Aristotle wrote, the great quote, "Give me a child until he is 7, and I will show you the man." And I've already said that the Greek ideology is considered to be the foundation of European civilization, as promoted through the goddess Astarte, and it's a way of life. So he's telling us there, give me a child even now from 7, and I will create the man for you. But we need to know, what is the man that Aristotle's ideology is creating today? It's a very serious situation we find ourselves in. So critical theorists in league with the elite, are on a mission that started way back with the Greeks, that define the foundation of Western civilization. They say human beings, now remember they are human also, but they are saying human beings are machines, levers which may be grasped and turned. There is a little real difference between automating a society and automating a shoe factory. That is their quote. That is the way they think. And we know that this is not our way of thinking. It's not our way of being. It's not our way of loving. It's not our way of living. It's not our way of spirituality. None of this is of our own. But that is how we are thought of, and that is how what makes it easier. We talk about when Hitler was able, and in times of slavery, to able to reduce a man to a beast. Now we're being reduced to nothing more than a shoe factory. Oh, sorry, Brother Andrew, I don't know what happened there. Has it come back?
Yeah, it's got critical theory on top of it.
Lovely, thank you very much, Brother Andrew. So as a people, we have to reclaim who we are. We have to re-educate who we are, and we have to restore ourselves individually and collectively, because until we separate in spirit, we cannot separate in mind, and until we separate in mind, we cannot separate in body and in action. Their mission is to secure the draft, individual brainwashing and programming, and both the family unit and the pair group must be engaged and brought under control. The mission spares no one, not even their own European people. Collateral damage is a price that they are willing to pay, and we will learn about that in some sessions going forward. Now, if this is the way they treat their own, we don't stand a chance. And when we do look at Bacon's rebellion and the invention of the white man, we will see how the white man is used as a military shield to protect them from us as a Black community. We need to understand and contextualize and not just unlearn what we have learned. We need to undo what we have become and create ourselves back into the likeness and image of God. We need to get woke. And we need to not just become woke, but we need to act woke.
The truth is a fact, a fib is a fiction. A theory is a clear and objective description of that which exists, how it is, how it isn't, by history or science or some defined discipline, and so theory goes. If you hold the opinion that truth is so easily known and envisioned. But what if, quote, truth as you know it is hidden by myths you've been told that you don't know you're living? What if powers that be control how the truth's given, and even how science and history are written, and even the means of theorizing is conditioned by the interest of those in the power position? Well, in that case, our theories would need criticism, and this is called critical theory. Its mission to sift out the shit and call out the system. What system is it? It's capitalism.
Roll your paradise, make your paradigms, break no paradigms. They tell me this is paradise.
It started with a question within Marxism. Is the revolution working? Oh, darn it isn't. Well, the Bolsheviks revolted, the autocrats co-opted it, but the problem's not communist, the problem is consciousness. All we can think is what we have known, and all we've ever known is that things can be owned, and to bite, scratch, and claw to get your possessions. And life is a bitch if dog eat dog's your first premise. It's get what you get since the get-go, it's endless. The notion's so close we don't notice its presence. Every system we inscribe reinstated its essence in hieroglyphs, Bibles, and declarations of independence. All of our relations, a human and their nation, a human and another human, a human and Mother Nature, are reduced to an equation of consumeristic labor. You know what I'm saying? You get what you pay for.
My ancestors own people, my creditors own me though. It's not the same thing, but there's many kinds of evil. But we don't even overthrow the powers that be though, cause we really don't even know how to be free. Oh, and even if we did know how, would we want to be? Don't we want jobs and a solid economy? People gotta eat, it's Nathan's hot dogs or me. We've got it all, but it's all ideology.
The system may seem natural, but it keeps you in place. It makes it seem natural to work cheap at a pizza place. It makes it seem natural to divide the species by class and race. It makes it seem unnatural to stop and seek peace and grace. Nothing against pizza. Pizza's delicious, but the The idea that you need it is cheesy and insidious. No matter how you slice it, we're defined by our interests in a circle of supply and demand, which is vicious. And I may understand this and say it in rap spits and pray my supply matches what your demand is. Yet I must admit, in spite of this rap song, even I had to buy Das Kapital on Amazon. Ain't that ironic? You called it Alanis. You call yourself leftist, you're probably capitalist. Not that you don't mean your call out sincerely. This irony is acknowledged by critical theory.
Roll your paradise, take your paradigms, break no paradigms, prepare to die in paradise. I only knew how to be free. Theoretically.
So critical theory looks at our history, all of its books and ambiguous victories, all of its answers and questions them critically. Why everyone says they want freedom but isn't free. And so what began in the context of economics became a critique of a complex of concepts that constitute the basis of the ideological constructs that course through our culture and complicate all of it. And it's the predecessor of identity politics and feminist call-outs of patriarchal nonsense and critiques of white privilege and fights for racial justice that say what's left unsaid and just how unjust it is. And make you wake up to what's real till you're woke to the wheel of control in which you're a mere spoke. For the system's not broken, it breaks you, you're broke. And it ain't funny, bro, your truth is a joke. But then here's a problem. If all I've been told is a product of forces and forms of control that inform all I do when I'm thinking of stuff, well then how I know who to be critical of? Take a pair of sources of important information, like a couple of our never-ending news organizations, making two new contradictory yet very forceful statements. Who's to say which of the two you should believe and who to take a spin? You may be moved to say whichever's based upon the evidence, but if you had the evidence, you'd only then make sense of it, directed through the prism of whatever your perspective is, perspective that's affected by whatever else is said to it. But if it's all relative, then how is there a hell to give? Even that it's relative itself is kind of relative, whether you're a liberal with conservative relatives or a rebel who would kill to live well in the hell you live. And this is relevant, since critical questioning gets weaponized by your side and your enemies, characterizing this 21st century in endless critique with increasing intensity. And so a theory that's designed to find and call out all the liars now is also called upon by those designing to divide us. It's the tool that's used to fight the privileged class and bank insiders, but it's also used to justify the climate change deniers. It's the basis of all of the words in these raps, but also fake news and alternative facts. Even maniacs and bigots try to speak their truth to power. Each is saying louder that their truth is ours. I don't know what's true. I too am a part of it. The tool is double-edged. Choose your department. I do art. I'm a dude in an apartment. I don't know what to do, though I try to regardless. For myths are not replaced by truths, but by other myths that get more use. The myth uses us. It's us who invented it. Let's invent some that have mutual benefit. History's history. Let's see how it ends. Let's be each other's critics and friends. Let's tear it all down, build something fine. All theories aside, it's a critical time.
So brothers and sisters, I just wanted to share that there. That sums up critical theory in that short poetry there. And just to remind us, we're in a time of spiritual revolution. Last year, during lockdown, I can't remember, Brother Andrew, what did we call it then? It was spiritual intervention. Now it's a time for spiritual revolution. And it starts when we get woke. And it grows out of us. And to be woke is not just to talk about it. It's something that we need to do. It's something that we need to become. It's a state of being to be woke and to go into spiritual revolution. And a phrase I use a lot with young people is, we are motivated to be great, but we are not motivated to become great. And we can apply this here. We are motivated to be woke, but we are not motivated to become woke, because that takes some action. And for those of us who say, but I am woke already, we are motivated to become woke, but often we lack motivation to stay woke. And that's where the energy really is. So we're in one of these places, but it's important that we understand what it means to be woke, and it's about a new state of being. So just as I come to end now, we call on our ancestors. I saw this wonderful picture, and I love that they're ancestors there. We call on our ancestors and our gods to protect us. We do this through our prayers and our affirmations. And we do this when we leave our houses, as we enter this alien world. And we ask for our ancestors and our gods to be with us. But when we come home, we forget to wash off that alien world, and we come in, we take off our shoes, we wash our hands, we may change our clothes, but we often forget to give thanks when we return, to wash away all that propaganda, all the lies, or the abuse that still lingers on us as an invisible smoke in our minds and then can leak out into the family, because they're aware also of that. And it is within it, and it is within our home. And I know Brother Shock is going to come on now to share with us how to reshape our African mind, but it is within our home that we are to find safety and refuge from the false reality, and to seek and live in truth and build up ourselves. And this is both physical and mental. And it is in our homes and on platforms such as this that we need to look at the perceptions that are shaping our life and our experiences, the products of institutional racism and trauma, and know that although our personal choices may not transform systems and institutions in any immediate or grand way, but that whatever we do, that we are radically transforming the different relationships we have in the workplace and the way that things are done, because our presence disrupts white supremacy and elite supremacy. So next time when we meet, we're going to start to look at some of the solutions to continue the reshaping of our mind that Brother Shock is going to talk to about. And some of them is we're going to look at Lord of the Rings and what that can show us, because there's a massive lesson in there, or solution in there. We're going to look at the old cowboy and Indian films that I grew up with as a child, because that has a solution to teach us there. We're also going to look at the left brain and right brain, how that has made us and the solutions that are already within us. And then, of course, we are going to move on to look at the principles of Ma'at and how that transforms us. We're going to look at the invention of whiteness as a race and its current cancer, because it is dying at this moment. But how critical theory is giving the illusion that it's that it is still strong, that it's still living, and that it still has power. But it's dying at this point. And how can we take advantage of that at this moment? So before I hand back to you, Brother Andrew and Reverend Shock, I want to just close with words from the Honourable Louis Farrakhan, who says, your whole mindset has to change if you want to conquer in a world like this. You have to have a mind of a conqueror. And with that said, we always need to remember that truth bears no fear as long as we have truth. So Brother Andrew, family, I want to say thank you for allowing me to share my learnings over the last few weeks, and I look forward to sharing more as I learn more.
My God, Lady Adele, we talk about being smelly on this platform. Sister, as Brother Leo said, smelling like roses, man. Truth is beautiful, man. Truth is, sister, you really captured, you gave us a remapping of our minds and made us appreciate and understand what we're living in today, sister. I mean, it was magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Wow.
But the beautiful thing is now, is Reverend Shock is now going to come and tell us how we can fill that space, because we can't get rid of everything. We've got to put something in there, otherwise the things leak back in. So that's the exciting bit. I've shared where we are, and Reverend Shock is going to share with us now. I'm sure, I don't know, but from the title, how we can now reshape our minds and feel that gap. I'm excited.
Blouse and skirts, beloved. That's all I can say. My blouse and my skirts, pure cheese and bun and cheese. My God, fantastic, lady. I mean, I could see all the comments. I mean, come on, man. I don't have to read out the comments. But Elaine Buchanan, thank you so much, sister. Wonderful, fragrant, beautiful truth. Sister Angela Rose, blacknificent. Sister Kaz, out of this world, Lady Ma'at Adele. We love you. I see you. Oh my God. And you know, it's the video that you dropped and the whole presentation, sister, has just been out of this world. I want to give a shout out to Sister Poetic Angela. Sister Poetic Angela. Sister, I'm sure you're the spoken word artist that shared the platform one time on the Hidden Science. If you are that same sister, let us know, beloved. But Lady Adele, absolutely amazing, amazing truth. And I believe you're back with us next week.
Possibly next week, Brother Andrew. I'll have to confirm that with you.
Okay.
But I think there's enough food for thought there. Even I've got to still get my head around some of that, the actual power of it. And I just couldn't, I can't think like that. So to have read people, to have read and researched, that's how we're thought of. To have gone from being considered an animal now to be considered a shoe, no more than a shoe factory, just blew my mind. So hopefully next week, Brother Andrew, but if not, I will be back very soon.
Fantastic, Lady Adele. And as you see, brothers and sisters, on the heels of our sister in the UK, we've got Reverend Shock literally in the annals, in the passageway. I'm sure that now you've left him now saying, I can't wait to get on now. But just as Brother Reverend Shock is getting himself ready for taking us on another level, let's just slightly just split this because it's the weight you two are dropping on us. Let's just let you know what's coming up very, very, very soon, brothers and sisters. Then I'm bringing Brother Reverend Shock straight onto the platform. As you know, you're on the Hidden Truth platform every single Tuesday. Reverend Shock is with us today. He's getting ready now, so please make that call. There's over 430 of us on the platform right now. There's a few more spaces left before he starts. But next week, brothers and sisters, it's gonna get smelly next week, brothers and sisters, because we know Reverend Shock and Professor Kabar. Oh my God. These are the two brothers that I called out of all the brothers and sisters in America. These are the two. I said, you know what? We need you on our platform regularly, man. And so we got Reverend Shock part 1, and we got Reverend Shock part 2 in the person of our beloved brother, Professor Kabar. And I would like Reverend Shock to just, you know, when he's dealing with his section, just to touch on some of the magnificence of Professor Kabar, just in case there may be some of you on the platform who have never heard of him before. I hope that Professor Reverend Shock just really gives us a little introduction as to the magnificence of this brother. So make sure you're here next week. His theme is the Medunetta, the power of language. And is there a true global language for us as Africans in terms of our classical studying? And is there a global language that we should be using in our everyday course of communication? And what is language? Is English a language or is it a dialect? What constitutes a language? So next week, brothers and sisters, I can't wait. Professor Kabar Kamene is going to be with us next week. And the week after that, we're keeping it hardcore. You, not me, you called for our brother, Pulabino, to be back with us. Pulabino's going to be with us on the 18th of May. Yeah. And you know, he's the creator and the master behind the timeline, the African timeline. And we had him on our show a few weeks ago, and you know what he done on this show. I cannot have our brother, Reverend Shock, followed by brother, Professor Kabar, and then come lightweight with you. I've got to keep it hardcore, man, because I'm dealing with G's. I'm dealing with gangsters on this platform. People that don't play on this platform, brethren. So we got our brother Paul Abino with us, coming up hardcore. And don't forget, brothers and sisters, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, you got your brother who gave you They Live. I went back into John Carpenter's cult classic and we blew it up. I can't remember how many we had on the platform, but we blew it up. Well, I'm coming back with another classic, Damien, the Omen, and we're going to talk about the reality. Brothers and sisters, get your tickets now. I'm telling you, strap it down. I've only mentioned it once, and I cannot believe how many people have already got their tickets. But we're going to be going into a 1980s classic, Damien, the Final Conflict, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to show you we are now living in the days of the final conflict. That special relationship between America and England, we're dealing with that tonight, a special relationship. But what do they mean by a special relationship? Let's have a look.
In the final conflict.
Yes, Mr. President.
I've just appointed Mr. Damien Thorne as our new ambassador to the court of St. James.
Damien Thorne is 32, attractive, brilliant, charismatic. To the modern world, he brings a purpose, a vision, a destiny. He's one step away from the most important position on Earth.
Disciples of the Watch, I stand before you in the name of the one who was cast out from heaven, but is alive in me.
The power of evil is no longer in the hands of a child.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And like that,
like that, he's gone. So brothers and sisters, we ain't stopping, man, because many of you are falling for this trick that the devil is just a spirit. No. When we go into Damien, when we go in the final, we're going to show you that the devil is a living man. Lady Adele went into the devil in her breakdown. If we don't understand what Lady Adele was breaking down, well, we're going to make it very plain. So brothers and sisters, the final conflict, Omen, that's going to be a rice and peace Sunday night with the Investigator, brothers and sisters. So Reverend Shock's getting himself ready now, brothers and sisters. Reverend Shock is getting himself ready. Okay, well, let's have a look. And don't forget, support black businesses.
Allume to sensation.
Marshall and Brown have created a wonderful range of natural exotic infusions, which are bursting with colours and delicious tropical flavours. Made with 100% natural ingredients and simply bursting with flavour, every single cup gives off a mouth-watering aroma, enveloping all the senses. The 8 infusions are versatile. They can be enjoyed hot or cold, winter and summer, night or day. Exquisite and beautiful packaging, tropical fruit and herbal infusions for every occasion. These teas really dive into a world bursting with colours and delicious flavours, with our fabulously tasty and imaginative range of fruit and herbal teas.
Merci, Marshall and Brown.
Marshall and Brown, a natural tropical taste.
So brothers and sisters, don't forget, every company that we promote on this platform is 100% black owned. And not only are they black owned, they support us in the struggle. They support black liberation. Reverend Shock, I'm not going to hold you back any further, my king. Are you with us from Los Angeles? Talk to me,
I am with
king.
you from Sacramento. I know you love Los Angeles, but I'm in Sacramento, but that's still the California coast. So that's good.
Oh,
Good.
Okay, thank you for the correction, my king. How is the God?
The God is good, and the goddess is doing well, and I'm looking forward to sharing again with the family. And I am excited that we got Professor Kabahaya Watha Kamene #1 on Amazon with his latest book, Shabaka Stone. And we're really excited that we finally got Baba Kaba. You know, one of the things that I wanted to do for the scholars is I wanted to come in And I saw that a lot of the scholars were dealing with poverty and financial struggle. So I'm proud to announce that we finally got, we took Kaba from being a retired school teacher on that salary. He is now a six-figure player in the game. And so I'm so excited. That just happened about 3 weeks ago. And so now we have changed his life, changed his family, changed his direction. And so as we talk about collapsing time and manifesting and using these metaphysical frequencies to move ourselves back into our original vibration, I'm proud to say that Baba Kaba is on the path. So it's just absolutely wonderful what's going on.
Fantastic, my big brother. Well, brother, you know what? We've been waiting for you for weeks now, King. I'm excited. Lady Adele's given us one level, one spectrum of remapping the African mind. Brother, can you please take us on this journey tonight and make this be a worldwide phenomenon?
Absolutely. Are you able to see my screen? I'm sharing my screen here.
We can see your share screen, brother.
Now let's do this because I know last time it didn't play. So are you able to
now, brother?
The transitions?
It's perfect.
Excellent. All right, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, brother Andrew Muhammad, for allowing me to come back on your platform, be with the family worldwide. Shout out to Lady Adele. You kicked ass. It was just badassery all day long. Blacktastic presentation that you gave. Unbelievable. One of the things I learned, family, last time I was here with Brother Andrew and the family on the Hidden Truth process, I learned that I was smelly. And I didn't know that I had to check myself and say, well, how do they smell me? I didn't, I bathed and everything, I shaved and showered, but I understand now that I'm smelly. And so I'm really going to try to live up to the aroma of Hidden Truth. So one of the things that Goddess Adele talked about, everything that she gave was 100% factual. And it's really kind of cool how what I'm getting ready to present to the community will fit in with that in remapping the African mind. As you know, I always start out with our affirmation, our first frequency of oneness, affirmation of power, prosperity, and protection. And so I will say it once and then you can repeat it after me if you so choose to do so. I am one with first frequency. I am one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I am one with the only one. Ashe, and so it is. This presentation, as all of my presentations, are dedicated to three of my spiritual mothers, Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, who says that you are the thinker, who thinks the thought that makes the thing, Reverend Dr. Helen Carey, and Ashe to Nana Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Special dedication. We lost one of our icons here in the States and in the world. As a result, I want to send an Ashe to President Idris of Chad and also Shak G of Digital Underground. Ashe to these kings, completely two different lives, but African first frequency nonetheless, and you will be missed. This presentation is brought to you by my concept that I developed called Nothing is Wrong with Black People. Something happened to Black people. And so I decided to take one of my presentations and put it on and just put it on all of the streaming platforms. So sometimes people like to listen to things rather than just watch things. So you can go to Spotify, you can go to iTunes, you can go to Napster, Amazon, or iHeartRadio and look up Metaphysical Morpheus, which is my nickname. Everybody has a nickname for me. That they call me Shoctimus Prime, Shook Shock, Shook Shocker, just all the shocks. Everything is in there. So go get that and check that out. Now, what is first frequency of oneness? Our ministry helps create a spiritual, psychological, and emotional barrier to the hidden signal of racial battle fatigue and racialized domestic terror. We're the only one of our kind, ministry of our kind in existence worldwide. We remove the African and the African American from the effects of their false racial identities, which we refer to as third and fourth frequency. Of course, we know that is the Negro and the nigga those are false racial constructs. You are not a nigger, you are not a Negro, you are not a thug or a thought, a bitch or a hoe. You are a god or a goddess having that experience. We help the African-American overcome their trauma bonding, capture bonding, and Stockholm syndrome to whiteness and whiteness values. Additionally, we're culturally specific, meaning that, as Brother Andrew said earlier, black, everything is black. This ministry, this movement, this process is exclusively for us and by us. We specialize in healing and removing the ancestral and historical and incarnate trauma within Africans and African Americans. We help our people reveal their natural, original first frequency signal and vibration. This work, this ministry, this research, this process, this movement is based on science. It's not based on self-esteem. So I'm not going to put, I don't need to put 100 on 10. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you how great you are. You already know how great you are. My job is to reveal to you all the ways in which you are and why you are great. And you are great, we are great, because when the Creator decided to create humanity, it created the African first. So that means something, and that should be exalted, and that should be the first thought that we have every single day. We are a teaching ministry and not a preaching ministry. So metaphysicalmorpheus.com. Who is Rev Shock? If this is your first time meeting me, welcome. I have a master's degree in metaphysical science and philosophy, currently working on my doctorate in the same field of study. You can go to metaphysicalmorpheus.com and download my 3-part fireside chat with Brother Billy B-Man Bird. I'm the founding minister of First Frequency of Oneness, Science, and Manifestation and Prosperity. SHOCK, by the way, I know y'all hear it all the time, but it stands for, it's an acronym that means Seeking Higher Omnipotent Conscious or Cosmic Knowledge. I'm also the founder of the Shock Metaphysics Virtual Comedic Wisdom School. My partner that works with me on this, on the Comedic Wisdom School, is none other than Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene and Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Brother James Smalls. It's an amazing process that we have, and I think we're now going on our 3rd year. You might also know of me from being the host of the Philippe Matthews Show, which you can go on YouTube and just type that in. I've authored over 19 books, actually 20 now. This lecture is based on my master's thesis, Can Using Metaphysical Meditation and Affirmations Daily Heal the Trauma of Generational Poverty in African Americans? Baba Kaba, speaking of Baba Kaba, he calls me the Marcus Garvey of time. Mark Victor Hansen, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, refers to me as the Oprah of internet. And again, Shock Metaphysics, these are some of the adepts that are in the Comedic Wisdom School, but it's absolutely amazing. Every single week, you get a lesson from these gods and goddesses for the entire 3 years. It's one of the greatest processes that we have available. It's probably the only kind of virtual Comedic Wisdom School that is in existence. But we're also giving away a free 6-day video e-course. So when you go to shockmetaphysics.com, download, enroll in the free e-course. Like to try before you buy, but you'll get something from Dr. Jeffrey, something from Professor Smalls, and of course, something from Baba Kaba. So we're going to be talking about remapping the African mind. The first question that we need to ask in that is, what part of the African brain breaks down from the constant stress of racial battle fatigue? The answer is known as your VMPFC, the ventral medial prefrontal cortex. It controls and helps to reduce the impact of stressful situations. We're going to go deep today, family, into the brain science of what happens when our minds have been compromised, which really picks up and complements what Lady Adele put down earlier. Stressors aren't stressful if you think you can escape or solve them at will. And so if you're in this constant flux and frequency and vibration of racial battle fatigue, how do you escape that? If you can't escape that, if you can't figure out how to move your life forward, this is the part of the brain that is going to be hijacked and compromised. As a result, you start making illegitimate decisions on your behalf. You start harming yourself, self-sabotaging yourself. Now, when our VMPFC breaks down, this is where we learn how to be poor. We learn how to financially struggle. Yes, poverty, financial struggle is a learned process. Remember what Goddess Lady Adele spoke about earlier. We are trained and conditioned at birth. And if you are into epigenetics and genetic memory, we know that we're trained pre-birth to be dependent, codependent, and to think that poverty and financial struggle is normal. It is not. It's a learned behavior. When our VMPFC breaks down, we are in a fog. We can't think straight. We can't get past go. So many of us suffer from procrastination. Speaking of Lady Adele, we can't critically think. So this is, again, I don't know if Lady Adele saw my presentation or not, but she was right on the money. I'm like, this is just a perfect compliment. So you can't critically think when this part of the brain. So all of the stuff that Lady Adele, I'm going to call her Dr. Adele, she probably is or should be. All of the things that she was talking about, this is the part of the brain that is manifesting that. So that's the part that is being attacked constantly from this frequency of racial battle fatigue. It lowers our emotional intelligence, or EQ. And when we begin having multiple levels of confusion, guess what? It starts to look like mental illness. Remember, I said earlier, nothing is wrong with you. Something happened to you. It is our job, Brother Muhammad, Adele, Kaaba, all the scholars, to teach you exactly what has happened to you and to show you unequivocally that there is nothing and can never be wrong with you. So let's get into the science of the big brain, understanding the neocortex or neopallium, what we call the big brain or the forebrain. Very fascinating stuff. This part of our brain, this is what makes us sapien, because we are first frequency Africans, because we've gone through the Ma'afa, because we have gone through our crucifixion and we are now rising in Christ consciousness in our resurrection. I believe we're sapien, super sapien. But it started about 1.7 million years ago. The neocortex began molding itself around the first two brains. And we're going to get deep into the first two brains, because here's what has happened. That we're going to talk in depth about the lizard brain. What Lady Adele was speaking of earlier, that's the part of the brain that is being targeted in the media, in the propaganda, in this system, this European system that we're in, to make us primitive in our nature and in our behavior. Neo, of course, means new or modified. The seat of our conscious awareness. The neocortex is our thinking, reasoning brain that allows us to learn and remember everything that we experience from our external world, and then modify our actions to do something better or different, or just to repeat the action the next time. So one of the things that we have learned how to do unconsciously is we have learned to loop what we learn, and we're not able to get in new information. We're just looping on what we call our psychological lexicon or our psychological vocabulary. We use the stored database of the temporal lobes when we associate what we know to better understand what we are attempting to learn that is new and unknown. Most of the millions of learned associations we have experienced in our lifetime are stored in this area of our brains. The temporal lobes are responsible for language, hearing, processing sounds, conceptual thinking, and associative memories. The temporal lobes associate most of what we have learned and experienced via our senses through our lifetime to the nouns of life, the people, places, and things, time and past events, in the form of memories. Now, this is interesting because one of the things that Brother Andrew and I are going to be doing, as you know, excuse me, as you know, we're teaming up to do a webinar on collapsing time. And one of the issues that we have, and one of the things that I'm going to be teaching in that special webinar with Brother Andrew Muhammad and Lady Adele, is that when you walk around and try to think positively, when you try to use affirmations, positive affirmations over and over again, what is happening is that you're conditioning your memories that have been produced from living in a racially terroristic society, rejects anything that is foreign, that is not in the memory. So if you walk around and say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, your big brain is going to say, I don't have a memory of that. I don't remember when you've ever been rich. I don't remember when you've ever been successful. I don't remember. I have no memory to pull on. And so the big brain kind of acts like white cells in our bodies that attack a foreign bacteria or virus or object. Mentally, your neocortex is rejecting next level thinking. So as you are watching this program, as you've been rocking with Brother Andrew Muhammad for all these years, this is the reason why it's important to have a repeat every week, all the time, to saturate your brain, to create new neural nets. We're going to talk about that. But there's a part of you that is fighting and trying to reject this information at the very same time that it's being presented to you, because you don't have that memory that you are first frequency. You don't have the memory to know that you are a god or a goddess. You don't know why you are a god or a goddess. Maybe it's just self-esteem and makes you feel good, but do you really understand why that when the Creator perfected everything on earth, made earth perfect, whole, and complete, that it would create then in its duplicated form the African? And so therefore, by the fact that the Creator created the African first and decided that this would be the best version of itself, the direct duplication of itself, made in the image and likeness of itself, the cosmic black womb, the waters of Nun, Ptah, Atum, understanding that carbon is cosmic. Carbon is cosmic. That is why we are African. That is why we are first frequency. And it is the reason why, regardless of what has happened to us and what has been done to us, why we're still here. Only a god or a goddess could survive what we have gone through. And so you have to understand, this is what needs to be consumed again and again in our big brain. So we are producing the same mind on a daily basis because we are firing the same neural networks in the same patterns, combinations, and sequences. So remember, I said a few times ago when I was on the platform with Brother Andrew about the false racial identities of third and fourth frequency, the consciousness. Negroes and niggas are made. Those are white male patriarchy made false racial identities. And so you think and have probably called yourself and referred to other people in your family and in your community as Negroes and niggas. And that is a false racial construct, but it's something that you're looping over and over again. And so I've said this before on the platform, you can't solve any of your problems in the false racial construct and identity that created the problem. So this is why you have to know your first frequency. You have to know that you are African first. You have to understand what that means, how to move, how to think, how to emote as a god. As we process through in the brain and repeat it over and over by firing repetitive inputs, the nerve tracts that are turned on, just like muscles, develop and strengthen their connection. So the more you hear, you are the first choice of the Creator, that nothing is wrong with you, something happened to you. The more you hear that, the more you repeat that, the more you see that, the more you start to collapse the old neural network in the big brain. And now you start to have a memory, a raw memory of who you really are and have always been. So neurons that fire together, wire together. So to think outside the box would mean to fire different sets of synaptic connections in a different combination and order, which are not as hardwired as the ones most commonly used. See, this is one of the tricks that they know about the brain. And so this is why it's difficult to learn new behaviors, new habits to move yourself and your community, our community, forward, because we're not learning anything new. We're just repeating the same things over and over again and expecting something new to happen. So I think Zig Ziglar called it, he asked the question, are you a wandering generality or are you a meaningful specific? To think inside the box is to cause our mind to fire in the most regular way, in which we fire our own pattern of neural circuits based on what we know and what we remember. So ask yourself, what do you know and what do you remember? And what you currently know and what you remember, will that get you out of Babylon? Will that move you forward in life? If not, that means you need to learn something new. You need to install new vibrations, new frequencies, new software that moves you forward. Brother Andrew Muhammad is dedicated to that. That's why every week, and even sometimes other times within the week, he is bringing you a way to reprogram your neocortex. So to think outside the box then is to reinforce our brain to fire synaptic patterns in different orders and arrangements to make a new level of mind based on what we do not know. Now, I want to talk to you about what I developed some years ago, about 20, maybe 25 years ago. I developed this concept called the 4 realities of the neocortex. Let's see if this fits with something that has happened to you. One is I call snap reality. Snap reality is when your neocortex rejects your desired reality and snaps you back to your original construct, regardless of your efforts to escape or expand. Remember, I talked about your neocortex maintains your homeostasis. It maintains your current reality and your current environment. This is also known as the backfire effect bias. And snap reality triggers an identity crisis, because what will happen sometimes is that when you start to learn about who you are, who you originally are, when you start learning, when you start to, as Baba Muhammad at the beginning of the program had that picture of Yoda on there, and he says, you must unlearn what you have learned. This can create sometimes a snap reality. You're given a preponderance of overwhelming evidence. And then as a result of that, something happens because you have so many memories of not succeeding, of being that Negro or that nigga in the streets, that you reject the new information that is coming in and you snap back to reality. How many of you have had situations where you say, I thought I overcame that. I thought I went past this. I thought I grew. But the same situation keeps showing up, maybe in a different set of clothing, different suits, but it keeps showing up in your space. Why? It's because it's housed and held in your memory. Go ahead, beloved.
No, I'm just bearing witness to you, King. You're killing it today. I just wanted to bear witness to that last point. Fantastic, King. Keep teaching, soldier.
Thank you, God. I appreciate you. So forced reality is the second reality. And forced reality is when a life event occurs without your permission or ability to stop it, but you are forever changed and altered or shocked by it. It could be positive or negative. This is how the African brain or mind is programmed with a preponderance of overwhelming evidence, either positive or negative. So a forced reality is dealing with this new world that we're living in, based on a virus that was manufactured, that was presented to the world governments as a means of being able to control the masses of populations that are living longer and being healthy. And so a healthy population, a happy population, is diametrically opposed to any government and system of oppression. And so they had to come together and create something that forced us into a new reality. But some of us know the game, if you will, and we're not playing the game with them. So forced reality moves into what we call static reality. Some of you, some of us, when nothing's working, you're watching every type of YouTube video, you're buying all the books, you're watching, you might even be watching Oprah and Dr. Phil. I don't know what the hell you do. It might be going to all the self-help systems that are out there. And no matter how many times you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, you're not changing your life. You're not making the money and the wealth and attracting the lifestyle that you want. You're not attracting the relationship or healing the relationship that you're in. Something has happened where you are at a standstill and your reality is stuck and you feel trapped in your own home, in your own body. That is static reality. And as a result, it's the old methods of positive thinking or prayer stops working. And this is a process that when you are taught, and this is really powerful, when you are taught by Europeans how to think, of course it has a shelf life. Of course it's not going to work. Of course it's going to stop at some point, because it's not going to work, because it's not ma'at. It's not your original signal. It's not your original frequency. That's why we call the Amu second frequency. The first frequency is us. They came from us as a result of going in the Caucasus Mountains and over 100,000 years depigmenting themselves and becoming what I call an anti-African. Literally, nature turned these original Africans inside out, and they are the opposite of everything that we are originally as a frequency people. The fourth reality is crash reality. Everybody can relate to this. When other people infect or affect your reality. How many people are wasting your damn time in your life? How many people people call me up, hey, Rev, how you doing? I'm like, great, what can I do for you? Oh, nothing. You were I'm like, well, if you ain't nothing, I really don't have anything to talk to you about, because I'm doing something and I don't have time to waste, because your reality is crash. Your nothing reality is crash. I'm getting a message here that my internet
black
connection.
Man, come on.
So watch this now. This is very powerful. When our perception is vulnerable to so-called lower vibrations, we can experience unhappy feelings that have nothing to do with us. The reason we can identify with these feelings is because we have tapped into someone else's problems or miseries, and we have become innocent bystanders that suddenly participated in a subconscious show. You and I are subject, because we're feeling people, because we're vibrational people. We are picking up the frequencies, the lower frequencies of that third and fourth false racial construct, and that second lower frequency of second frequency. And it's not even us, it's not even for us, but we think it makes us feel some kind of way, as the young people would say. It makes us feel uneasy. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I depressed? Why do I feel down? Why am I hurt? It's probably not even yours. It doesn't even belong to you. You're picking up on other people's frequencies, and those realities are crashing into you. Look at your family. What happens when you talk to somebody that is an energy vampire, somebody that calls you up, or in your family that are always in need, always complaining, no matter how many times you give them a solution or an idea to solve their problems, they'll figure out a way to mess it up and to self-sabotage it and drain all of your energy. And after you talk to them, they feel great and you're ready to slice your wrist. I'm like, okay, I can't take this anymore. I'm so damn tired, because they've crashed into you and they've depleted your energy stores. This is also known scientifically as quantum entanglement. So now let's talk about the lizard brain, the little brain, the lizard brain, the basal ganglia and related structures of the lizard brain. This is where, when it's been compromised. Let's talk about beneath your cortex, toward the back of your skull, is a part of your brain that we human monsters share with Godzilla. This is from the book Rock the Boat by my good buddy Resmaa Menakem. Phenomenal piece of work. Matter of fact, that book is the book that got him booked on Oprah and Dr. Phil. So he's just one of the most genius thinkers in trauma of our time. This back part of our brain, our lizard brain, only understands protection, fight, flight, or freeze. It loves whatever protects you and hates whatever makes you vulnerable. I'm going to be repeating this throughout this segment because I really want you to understand the part of your brain, there's a part of your brain that hates your lover because you're vulnerable to them. Remember, I talked about my first appearance on the show with Brother Andrew Muhammad, and we talked about trauma. And I shared with him that when we come together with our spouse or with our girlfriends or boyfriends, that we're running away from trauma. And the reason that we fall in love is because we are trying to neutralize all of this stored trauma that is inside of us. And we feel better when we're around the person that we're falling in love with. Well, the other part of that, when the lizard brain has been hijacked and compromised by European values and European frameworks and thought, when we get into relationship and we fall in love, because in order to be in love, you got to fall first, that creates a vulnerability. That vulnerability is diametrically opposed to a compromised reptilian brain or lizard brain. Remember, it wants protection. Anything that makes it feel vulnerable makes it feel unprotected. And if you are immature, and if you've been conditioned, like Lady Adele talked about earlier, from society, you're operating as with a 12-year-old mindset and mentality. That's what your lizard brain is doing, is hijacking, bypassing your neocortex completely. And now you're an emotional wreck, and you start doing things to self-sabotage the very relationship that is trying to relieve the trauma that you are running from. So to our lizard brains, your love for each other is an ongoing source of stress. In immature relationships, this hatred usually grows over the years. The closer you are and get to your partner, the more vulnerable you become to each other, and the more sacred, or I'm sorry, the more scared your lizard brain gets. And this is the same for your partner. So Resmaa Menakem, in the book, he says, I hate you for loving me and making me feel vulnerable. If you really loved me, you wouldn't make me feel you wouldn't make me feel vulnerable by loving me. That's really what is happening when your lizard brain is compromised and it hasn't been restored back to its first frequency understanding of Ma'at. We perfected the mind. We perfected the brain. When we got, as Baba Kaba would say, rudely interrupted, when we were hijacked, they attacked this part of our brain. And so literally the physical aspect of our brain. And it manifests as a whole brain process, because that's what the African is. But this is the part of the brain that is being compromised every single day, the advertisements and all of the things that Lady Adele was talking about. And so the fact that your partner makes you happy makes your Godzilla brain unhappy. The paradox of intimacy is that the more important someone becomes to you, the less willing you may be to show all of yourself to them, because it terrorizes and terrifies your lizard brain. This is why people will tell their deepest secrets to a stranger in an airport or a bar, but will hide them from their beloved partners. Hopefully this is making sense, family. If so, please put a 1 in the chat. I can't see it, but I'll be able to go back and look at it later.
Damn, it's making sense, brother. It's making sense. And the chat room is on fire still, brother.
Fantastic, beloved.
There, Doctor.
Say again, Goddess.
I said definitely lots of ones there, Doctor.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, beloved. Okay, so the compromised lizard brain, due to 500 plus years of racialized terror, causes Africans and African Americans to throw the baby out with the bathwater in our relationship with each other. Remember, I talked about at the beginning, the VMPFC, the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, regulates our level of stress. And once we are no longer able to regulate that level of stress, it breaks down and we become primitive. This is the part of the brain where that is all making sense and connecting. So by harming each other, we are harming ourselves, but we don't know how to stop because our lizard brain is incapable of reason and logic. The African and the African American, due to the constant second frequency signal of racial battle fatigue, it keeps our lizard brain activated all the time in a constant state of fight, flight, and freeze. So this is also known as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. The second frequency, AMU, discovered this aspect of our brain function and uses it against us to this day, keeping us in check and in our place by terror, by fear, by death, by all manners of laws and therein. Our compromised lizard brain won't allow us to unite because African unity has been met with death and extreme violence, which creates what? A vulnerability in the lizard brain, which only seeks what? Protection. Doing anything that compromises the safety of our income, our lifestyle, or mortality will result in the lizard brain rationalizing our conformity to second frequency and ultimately the betrayal of our own people. Now, I really want you to understand that we all sit up and say, why can't we just all get along? Why can't we all come together? They knew that coming together would be the annihilation of them or contribute to the genetic annihilation that Nana Cress-Welsing speaks of. And so as a result, they had to make us completely codependent on them and their system so that we would deny each other because we don't want to feel vulnerable to perhaps losing our income, losing our lives, losing our lifestyle. And so as a result, this is the reason, we're going to talk about this real deep. This is the reason why we can't have quote unquote Black unity, or why Black unity is so difficult for us, because of they're attacking this part of our brain. So our compromised lizard brain causes us not to trust ourselves. Therefore, if I can't trust myself, how could I trust my people? I couldn't, because my brain has been compromised. By using our lizard brain against us, we will support and taking our original spirituality outside of us, we'll support churches and ministries that teach us we are made in the image and likeness of a white God, along with his imaginary white son on a stick. This is all fables. These, I mean, literally, it is a fable. It's, you know, Jesus never walked this earth. It's no such thing. This was created as a means to control an illiterate population, and a population, particularly in America, that did not know the language. Our language was taken, our original language was taken from us. This is why Baba Kaba is coming on next week to talk about the Medu Neter, the original language and frequency and vibration of who we are, that restores our lizard brain, restores our VMPFC or ventral medial prefrontal cortex, restores our neocortex, and so on and so forth. And so the lizard brain, some of you right now are terrified when you hear Jesus never walked the earth, being referred to as a white boy on an imaginary white boy on a stick. I got that from Dr. Obadele Cambone. Some of you actually flinched. I know when you hear it, you're like, oh my gosh, and your brain right now, your lizard brain is fighting you right now. Say, oh, this can't be right. This, oh, what? And you're trying to find some level of logic. There is no logic in a compromised lizard brain. This is why Brother Andrew brings on leading thinkers, so that we can learn how to think for the first time. But to do that, we have to do what? We have to unlearn what we have learned. The lizard brain is the seat of our self-hate, family. Our compromised lizard brain hates giving compliments to our own people. That's a form of self-hate. The intergenerational impact of whiteness has caused the lizard brain of Africans and African Americans to be vulnerable to self-love and community love. Therefore, we consciously and unconsciously hate each other. Our compromised lizard brain causes Black people to compete and cancel each other out rather than converse and complement one another. When I meet with, and this happens to me all the time, less now than before, but still it happens occasionally. When I meet other African-American men, and I know Brother Andrew has gone through this as well, whose lizard brain has been compromised, sometimes we'll meet brothers that will try to level and position us. They will minimize and marginalize us. They try to make us feel dumb and stupid. They'll even attempt to embarrass and humiliate us publicly, and sometimes resort to name calling and insinuation. Because when your lizard brain is compromised, you are in a third and fourth frequency state of being or identity. You are aligned with white values. You're going to attack your own people. You're going to attack your own men and women, your own gods and goddesses. Our compromised lizard brain will make you believe it is right and okay to cheat on your spouse. Now we're getting deep. I know. You're just like, oh Lord, Rev Shock done gone here. What? What are you doing, Rev Shock? Your spouse makes your lizard brain vulnerable. Remember we talked about that earlier. So cheating on him or her makes your lizard brain feel protected and in control because it's been compromised. See, again, we mastered this in Ma'at. We mastered our minds. We didn't have trauma in Africa. We had never experienced the trauma of the Ma'afa. We had no concept or clue. Our brains were pure. We had manifested and mastered all science, spiritual science and physical sciences. And so we knew about this part of the brain, and that is why we created and moved forward as a people under Ma'at. Our compromised lizard brain holds in place our false racial identity of third and fourth. Again, how many times have you said, look at that Negro over there. I'm so glad I ain't that nothing ass nigga over there, that dumb ass nigga, that bitch ass nigga, and this, all of these names, all of these sub frequencies and vibrations that we call ourselves and identify as such. How can you get out? How can you be taken seriously by anyone when you are running around referring to yourself as a bitch, as a hoe, as a nigga, as a thug, a thought, a savage, and you're running around and then every 7 days you're running to see and worship a white boy in the sky and a white boy in the stick? Who would take you seriously? That is the actual idea of a 12-year-old mind. It's a child. And so as a result, that lizard brain, the frequencies of second frequency, the Amu, has put us in a position where we're fully grown. I'm 55 years old. Some of us are 60, 70, 80 years old. But we act like a child when we are threatened because our VMPFC, we can't handle our stress. That part of the brain has been completely compromised. Now we act illogically. Kaba says this: it is natural when you are in an unnatural environment to act unnaturally. So you have to understand, we were born into an unnatural environment. As a result, of course, we are suffering from mental illness. When you are in a false racial construct and you think that you are a Negro, a good go along, go to church, go to school, get an education, get a good job, be a good employee, believe in a white boy on a stick, take your friends and family every Sunday and, you know, clap to this white boy wherever he's at. And you're doing it, you're not in your natural environment. And so of course you're mentally ill. So we're in a constant state of mental illness, and it's only a matter of time. This is why we act up and act out. And so our compromised lizard brain, watch this, will pay a white person or institution, but won't want to get it free from us. We want the hookup. You know, let me get it for free, brother Andrew Muhammad. I don't want to pay you for it.
Hey,
You look just like I do.
You're stepping on.
But I'm gonna go over here to the white boy and I'm gonna give him my money.
That's right.
For the same product, for the same damn product,
brother.
Come on now. Am I lying or am I telling the truth here? Is the family
Teach
with
the truth, brother? Teach the truth.
This is what happens when our minds have been compromised, and this is why we're talking about remapping. Our compromised lizard brain is the seat of our codependency in all of our relationships. So watch this. Our goddesses, our women, will publicly and privately degrade, shame, and humiliate their kings verbally. Because their compromised lizard brain doesn't want to feel vulnerable to them. We do the same to our queens. The compromised lizard brain causes the bitch, the hoe, the thought to use her sexuality to get attention and control men, because being poor and uneducated makes her feel vulnerable. Again, that goes against the lizard brain. So she uses sex to control and pay for her lifestyle. I know I'm hitting somebody in the head right now. Somebody's got a hammer right in between the eyes. The compromised lizard brain makes the thug the most vulnerable emotionally. So the hardest of hard, brother and sister that is out here. Therefore, you must, by any means necessary, show the world and the community that you are hard and tough. You're not hard and tough, you're traumatized. You are traumatized, and you're not in your rightful state of mind. Our compromised lizard brain causes us to shame each other, playing the dozens, clapping back, roasting, and engaging in our own trauma porn. When we see and have joy in seeing our people, our own people, suffer. This is a compromise. This is not normal. This is not natural. This is not ma'at. This is not first frequency. This is not who we are. But when your brain has been compromised and hijacked, this is what youth do every day and think that it's normal. Our compromised lizard brain is responsible for keeping up with the Joneses. The thought that another Negro or nigga is doing better than me, oh, no, I'm not having that. And they have something that I don't have, and they're doing something that I can't do or don't want to do or don't know how to do. That's identical to the white rage of second frequency. And white rage is a great piece of scholarship by Dr. Carol Anderson, where she really mapped out what is white rage. When white people see Black people doing well, it makes them feel some kind of way. Well, when Black people who are in a false racial construct see Black people doing well, they feel the same way. And that's not ma'at, that's not natural, that's not first frequency. So let's talk about the midbrain, where we become one with the one. So see, the creator, again, created the best of the best. We are the best of the best. And so where do you access, and they've done a test on this where they've done brain scans with different people who meditate and different levels of transcendence and what have you, and priests and monks and ministers and what have you. And where is God located, or where is Amma located in the brain, and how do we override the neocortex and the reptilian brain? It is the midbrain that allows us to do that. In the Shabaka Stone, Baba Kaba's book, the ancient African midbrain perceived the creator as one spirit, both male and female, united in self-satisfaction, called mer, or bliss, or love. Unconditional love, even deeper than unconditional love. It's viewed holistic conceptual ideas as the fundamental founding principle of the world's organization. So metaphysics, in a sense, is myth, the form in which the experience of a people becomes conscious. Myth provides the metaphysical unseen truth about the physical seen reality. The creation story considered the principles of life and the order and arrangement of the cosmic universe. And of course, the original Trinity is the Nun, Ptah, and Atum. Baba Kaba is going to come on and break that down. But all religions come from a hijacked, a bastardized understanding of original Trinity, and is the Nun, Ptah, and Atum. So metaphysics is the spirit that brings the physics into being. Please pick up a copy of Shabaka Stone. It is the book of books. It is the highest level of spiritual science I have ever read. As I said, I'm 55. I was introduced to metaphysics at age 10. So 40 some odd years, became a minister, went around the world teaching and preaching, and I have yet to find a book that codifies who we are as first frequency people and gives us our spiritual system back to us. And so philos or philosophy is the exercise of reason in the fields of thought and action. When I interviewed Dr. Edwin Nichols, he said philosophy is the highest of all sciences. All other science comes under philosophy. That's why I wanted to get a doctorate in metaphysical science and philosophy. In the days of Pharaonic Kush Kemet, to be a true scribe, the philosopher had to be a scientist, sage, poet, wife, mother, husband, father, citizen, and warrior. African education requires that method, how you teach, be as important as content, which is what you teach. It is more dangerous to have a lot of information taught with a bad method than to have a little information with the correct method. This is what's known as Tep Haseb that Baba Kaba is going to come on next week and talk to you about. The philosopher acts with wisdom. The application is made possible by his or her degree of intellect, of the thinker or the scribe. And there are three types of intellect that we need to look at. Clear and concise, which is information is easily transmitted. Secondly, to be ready, access to information or be able to access information quickly. And three, large, which possesses information. So if you engage with Brother Muhammad on a weekly basis and you start to sound like Brother Muhammad or some of the guests come on his platform, you're becoming a philosopher. All of us are philosophy and all of us have a philosophy. As we move into our right state of mind and remap our African brain, we become PhDs of our family, of our community. Talk about the anatomy of thought. And what is a thought? A thought is where the mind produces certain cells in our brains that secrete a droplet of neurotransmitters. So there's a DNA, a physical DNA component to our thoughts and our thinking. It's a biochemical process. Now, when we understand this biochemical process, I want to introduce you to what I call the trigger of the gravitational pull of ants, worms, and fears. ANTS is the acronym for automatic negative thoughts, right? So I'll give you an example. You go to a motivational speaker, you see something that's really great, and it was great, motivating. I mean, even maybe after Rev Shock talks to you or whatever, after this presentation, and at the end of the presentation, after the presentation, you go to the bathroom, you look in the mirror and you say, God, I'm fat. God, I'm ugly. Well, that's an automatic negative thought. And so we have to learn how to crush these ants, these automatic negative thoughts, which are preconscious thoughts, beliefs, and ideas that keeps us trapped in our false racial identity of third and fourth frequency and our comfort zone. See, here's the thing, fam. I hope this is making sense to you. There's a difference between improving and changing or transforming. If you refer to yourself and see yourself and identify yourself as a Negro or a nigger, all you can do is try to improve your lot in life. You'll never change. You're just improving it. So you'll get a bigger flat screen TV, you'll get a bigger car, you'll wear more clothes, put on more makeup, get your hair did and all of that to improve. To change is to completely let go of being third and fourth frequencies, completely letting go of white values and European constructs and becoming first frequency again for the first time. It's a reveal. So these ants keep us in a holding pattern don't act or do anything to our lives. They keep us stagnated and stifled and cause us to sabotage our own good. Now, a worm that I refer to in my book, Shock Philosophy, is a metaphor for a deep-seated unconscious belief that lies dormant in our consciousness or subconsciousness. And it's analogous to a computer virus that activates when a certain button or keyboard is pushed, or key is pushed on our keyboard. So worms are much stronger than ants and are more insidious and pervasive. If we are focused, when we overcome an ant with sheer willpower, but willpower up against a worm, which is a deep-seated dominant belief, is like one soldier up against an entire army. Again, the brain has been compromised. And so remember, we talked about the backfire effect. We talked about that snap reality. Well, that's where your worms are. It's that part of you that just completely continues to do bad things to yourself and to others, and to live this degenerate life of a false racial construct. And so a worm will destroy willpower and will destroy, automatically sabotage everything that is good in your life. Hopefully, again, this is making sense, family. I can't see you, but I know Brother Andrew, he can give me an update if everybody's on board.
Absolutely making sense, big brother. Massive conversations are taking place as you're speaking.
Fantastic. All right, so I'll give you an example. So an ant might say, I'm not good enough to be with this person. But a worm will say, not only are you not good enough to be with that person, but you're a loser too. And so it will actually cause you to believe that you are no good and that you can't get out and you can't improve your life. So why even try? I know I'll just sit up and watch a bunch of YouTube videos that make me feel good, put a Band-Aid on me, but I'm not going to be able to actually change, nor am I motivated to even take the action. Like some of the stuff that you just saw, Brother Andrew showed earlier, and Lady Adele, when your brain is compromised, the information sounds great, but are you going to act on it? Are you going to make a change, or are you just trying to improve the hell that you're already currently living? Fear, of course, you've heard the term false evidence appearing real. But here's something that's interesting. Fear is simply a psychological optical illusion that makes you believe it is impossible to move beyond your current environment. This is also known as axiology. Dr. Edwin Nichols speaks to us about this and teaches us this. Axiology, the Amu has created an environment that has caused you to not be able to think for yourself, control yourself, and be completely codependent on their system, which causes you to have fear. And they use fear as a means to control you and manipulate you. But here's the thing. There are only two fears that we are born with, and that is the fear of a loud noise and the fear of falling. Family, all other fears are learned behavior. Learned helplessness is a learned behavior. Financial struggle, poverty is a learned behavior. Everything that is wrong in your life that you are fearing is a learned behavior.
That's deep. That's
deep.
That is deep.
Yeah, so fear is a lie. Think about this. We mastered nature. We don't fear, we got to a point where we didn't fear lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. We became one with them because we understood their nature. There was nothing else to fear. What was there to fear? Nothing. And so again, this is how our brains have been compromised. So let's talk about briefly reality loops. A dysfunctional open loop occurs when the action does not close the loop. Let me give you an example. If the itch is caused by a mosquito bite or allergic dermatitis, you scratch, but the itch returns. That is a sign of dysfunction because it's not closing the loop. So as a result, when we ask the question, what's wrong with me? What is wrong with my life? Why can't I manifest wealth and sustain health, happiness? We're not able to answer that question because our VMPFC, ventral medial prefrontal cortex, has been hijacked and compromised, and we're not able to handle our level of stress. We're not able to manage our level of stress. We are now not able to answer that question. And so now we have a dysfunctional open loop. We have questions that we can't answer. How did this happen? Why is this happening to me? You start to feel helpless, and then you learn how to be better at being helpless. You learn how to be better at being helpless.
Teach our condition, brother.
If we do not find satisfactory answer, we would create a dysfunctional open loop that ultimately halts peace of mind and creates a sense that something is missing in my life, something is wrong with me. Well, now, if you're messing with Rev Shock and Brother Andrew and Lady Adele, you know ain't nothing wrong with you. Something happened to you. But this is the lie and the illusion that has been put on us at birth, and again, epigenetically pre-birth, where we think that what we see is real out here in these second frequency streets. Understanding that reality loops, the mind creates loops, which are thoughts that demand our attention or require action. This is why we have to figure this out, and we're going to do that. When open loops occur in the body system, a mind-body connection function is activated to close it. If an itch comes in an open loop, which is a question, it requires a scratch, an answer. It requires an answer. Scratching, answer, solution alleviates the itch, therefore, and thereby closing the loop. Now, I want to go through this briefly because I really wanted to go in deep. I know I'm going to go a little long on this one, if that's okay with Brother Andrew Muhammad. Family, is it okay if I go a little, probably about another 20 minutes? Is that okay?
Come on, brothers and sisters. Everyone's saying, go on, please do. Yes, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't want to encroach on anybody's time. All right, so now that we have this understanding of our brain, the neocortex, the lizard brain, and the midbrain, we can now map out how we become walking losers in this loop, in this dysfunctional open loop within third and fourth frequency false identities of being Negroes and niggas. We are not Negroes and niggas. But here's the question that you need to ask yourself. What happened to you that stopped you from dreaming and seeing yourself in the future, and slowly began seeing yourself only in the here and now, which is survival mode? When did you stop thriving? When did you stop dreaming? When did you stop manifesting? Racial battle fatigue and racial oppression are designed to kill your ability to see yourself in the future. We're looking at our young people. When I can take away a young person's ability to see themselves in the future, I have successfully made a thug. I have successfully created someone that is going to work against their best interests, because you are not able to see yourself in the future. You're not able to plan for your future. All you're doing is running in this false racial construct as a nigga out here in these streets. And you think that this is all there is. You don't know that you were created, you were made to be this way, not created to be this way. When racial battle fatigue signal is successful, you stop dreaming, you stop planning, you stop preparing for a better future and accept your current fate, because you can no longer see yourself getting out. When you are a little boy, when you were a little boy, a little girl, did you ever go up to your mother and father and say, when I grow up, I want to be a stripper? Was that a goal? Something happened to you. When I grow up, I want to be a drug dealer. When I grow up, I want to be an alcoholic. When I grow up, I want to be a ratchet thought. When I grow up, I can't wait to be a thug. When I grow up,
I hope we haven't lost you, brother. You still there, King? Just bear with us, brothers and sisters. It looks like I think he's getting a bit too deep. He's getting a bit too deep. We have one of our brothers and sisters saying that's it. I'm in tears now. But now that's the whole point of the today, brothers and sisters. I'm hoping Reverend Shock comes in a second. Anything you want to highlight, sister?
I mean, just lots of people. Sorry, Doctor, we lost you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh yeah. Okay. What happened?
It's just breaking up a little bit.
That's what happens when that frequency gets strong, ain't it? It don't play.
They try and shutting us down. They're trying to shutting
us down, brother. We had comments on the chat line saying, "That's it, brother. I'm crying now. You got me in tears." So literally, brother, you're touching buttons. Your share screen is gone. So if you can go back onto share screen, I don't know if we've lost you again. Jarita, I think we've lost him again.
Screen back on. Can you see that?
No, you're let's have a look. It looks like it's something maybe coming back now.
I'm sharing my screen here, so let's see if you can see my screen.
It says you've started screen sharing, but we can't quite see anything you're sharing yet. It's still blank.
Okay.
Doctor is absolutely on fire right now, and this is the depth that is now going in. Brother D. Muhammad has just said you've smashed it. Absolutely smashed it, brother. Any other comments you want to touch on, Sister Jarita, whilst our brother's sorting himself out?
Actually, I mean, I quite like Christine's one that she just sent through. She said that she likes the fact he's made the distinction between preaching and teaching. And obviously at this point in time, he's teaching. And so, you know, really grateful for that. There's been a few comments actually that I wanted to raise, but I didn't want to pause him in his tracks because he is on the move tonight. But I guess one of the main questions that's popped up a couple of times is to do with what we would classify ourselves as. You know, are we saying that we are second frequency? Are we saying that we're first frequency?
Oh, we're definitely not second frequency. We're not Amu and European. Hell no. So this is a great question, Goddess, because what does it mean to be first frequency? What does it mean to be African? What does it mean to be a god and a goddess? Born as a god and goddess, but taught how to be these lower frequencies, these lower false racial constructs. And so, yes, that's the difference between changing who we are and versus just improving or trying to improve on a false racial construct. So we are Africans, we are first frequency, we are gods and goddesses, we're spiritual beings having this human experience. Now, let me try to, okay, let me see if this works. I'm gonna try to share my screen again.
Okay.
Now let me ask you, can you see that slide?
It's yep, we're back on.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, so I'm gonna go full screen and let's wait a minute, let me change hold on, I need to change one thing. Let me go back to full screen and see. Can you see me right there like that?
Yeah, can see fine.
Okay, so I think this is where I left off, and I asked the question, lose or lose this psychological loop that we're in. When you were a child, did you grow up? Did you go up to your father and ever ask and say, "Mom, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a stripper. I want to be a drug dealer. I want to be an alcoholic. I want to be a ratchet thought. I want to be live paycheck to paycheck. I want to be broke." No, that is learned behavior. If you are living that lifestyle and living that life, that happened to you. Nothing's wrong with you. That happened to you. It was never a goal, as it was a means of survival, because everything has been stripped away. Your brain has been compromised. As a result of that, now you are living, as they say, this ratchet life, but that's not who you are. So you, family, cannot be responsible for what happened to you. You can only be accountable for what you do about it. None of this, pardon my French, none of this shit is your fault. None of the stuff that has happened to you or none of the stuff that you have done is your fault, because in the right axiology, in the right environment, in your natural environment, you wouldn't be doing 90% 90% of the stuff that you're doing right now, and some of the stuff you had to do in order to survive. Understand this, family. I don't know what is happening to you, what you're going through or growing through. Ma'at loves you. Remember, we talked about Mare, bliss. This is what we're talking about, restoring your mind. Nana, Dr. Asa Hilliard says, mental bondage is invisible violence. Formal physical slavery has ended in the United States. Mental slavery continues to this present day. This slavery affects the minds of all people, and in a way, it is worse than physical slavery alone. That is, the person who is in mental bondage will be self-contained. Not only will that person fail to challenge beliefs and patterns of thought, which control him or her, he will defend and protect those beliefs and patterns of thought virtually with his last dying effort. What do you mean I'm not a real nigga? I'm a real ass nigga out here in these streets. I'm a thug, I'm a savage, and will kill you to try to make them think differently. I'm a good Negro. Jesus is all there is. Jesus is coming back. I am going to be saved when Jesus comes back, and all of y'all can go to hell because y'all are in hell because I'm going to be saved when Jesus comes back. This is mental slavery. This is what we're talking about when your mind has been hijacked. It is usually one event that occurs. Sometimes it's multiple, but usually it's one event that occurs that creates a cascading or domino effect that puts the African and the African American further back than they were before the event or beyond the point of no return. By the time you are 25, the hidden signal of racial battle fatigue has taught your brain how to lose, how not to be able to set goals, and how not to finish what you start. Racial battle fatigue is a form of domestic terrorism, which creates an act of moral betrayal, causing you to self-sabotage yourself, your own people, and at some point, we begin to believe that we deserve to lose. There are epigenetic tags of unsuccessful behavior that you are born with. Then you are bombarded with racial battle fatigue signals that are triggered through environmental repetition, which is your axiology, that you are nothing, never will be nothing, and never have nothing. And that makes you the most dangerous person in the world when you've completely given up the fact that you are a god or a goddess. And so you start to act unnaturally and against your own self-interest and against your own people.
So, but brother.
Yes, beloved.
I don't know if you appreciate, brother, the level in which you're dropping it right now. I mean, many brothers are saying, "Oh my God, that is me," or you know, and they're in tears right now. Okay, brother. I mean, it's that deep where you're going, but not to throw you off your. I don't want to throw a curveball at you, brother.
You're no problem, brother.
I don't want to throw you off your angle that you're coming at, but brother, whether you appreciate it or not, our brothers and sisters in America, whether you appreciate it or not, the black world do look up to you. Yeah, all of our people. When we see the level of violence, madness, and death and destruction that America gives out to our brothers and sisters, and then at the same time, we look at the TV and we see many of your so-called leaders and influencers telling us that America is not a racist country, when the whole world knows that America's built literally. How does that fit into what you just stated there, King? I just wanted to.
Phenomenal question. Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked me that, brother Andrew. Oh man. So here's the thing, and this is a hard pill for some people that will hear to swallow. Anyone who is highly successful from a European paycheck is compromised. So all of your entertainers, all of your sports figures are receiving a check from a white Amu institution. Your brain has been hijacked and compromised. This is what you just explained about, I think it was Warnock somebody else, maybe Kamala, somebody, I don't remember. I remember warning that. That's what we call third frequency. We call them coons, we call them sellouts. He was born and raised in a false racial construct. His good brother, and again, these can be good people, these can be bad people, these can be people who have good intentions, good heart, but you're in a false racial construct. So it's a matter of thinking of somebody who has mental illness, someone who has special needs, someone who has autism, good people, but they're not in their rightful place of mind. They're not in the right identity. And so here's a brother who made a fortune preaching about the white boy on the stick and the white boy in the sky. I'm not, Dr. John Henry Clark would say, I'm surprised that you're surprised. Because when we look at what happens when you're in a false racial construct, when you are in this narrative, when this when you as a child, as a young boy, are introduced to the white boy on a boat, which is Columbus, and all of a sudden you have no identity, you no longer see yourself in humanity. I'm surprised that you're surprised. I'm also surprised that we are able, some of us, like a Brother Muhammad, like a Kaaba, like a Rev Shach, to be able to find our rightful states of mind, because we're not supposed to. This is what you're experiencing and what you're seeing and being on this platform. This ain't supposed to happen. You're supposed to be batshit crazy and be controlled. That's what you're not supposed to think. You're not supposed to think your way out. This is what has been done to us. And so, yeah, anytime you see some of our Black leaders, those Black leaders are compromised because they're getting a white check. This is why I teach disruptive economics and how that there are at least 3 billion African people on this planet. Are you telling me that there's not enough of us to put multiple M's in our bank account, multiple millions in our bank account, just supporting our own community? That's crazy. Of course we can. So the more we are able to remove ourselves and diminish this second frequency, that's when we start to have control. But people like you and me, we are a threat to a third frequency person who feels there is no racism. We are a threat. Ma'at is a threat to that. That person will never be on your show. That person will never watch your show because they have been lost. They have been compromised. They are just as equal to the Amu, if not worse than the Amu, because they've been completely compromised. And so go ahead, brother.
Brother, can I just pause you for 2 minutes, King? Just for 2 minutes. Get your mind together so we can just finish this off. But I want to know, do you agree totally with my man here? I
can't see you because I'm in full screen. Let me come out of full screen. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me come out of full screen here and let's have a little dialogue and then we can finish this, wrap this up. How do I stop? Okay, stop share. Okay, there we go. All right.
Thank you, King.
All right. Rev Shot coming at you. Here you go.
This is a mental, I think everyone can see my screen there. I'm just going to play, and you let us know what you...
It's wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Good God.
It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
It is threats to our national security as domestic terrorism manifested by white supremacists. And so these are issues that we must confront. And it does not help to heal our country, to unify us as a people, to ignore the realities of that. I don't think America is a racist country, but we also do have to...
Hello, everyone.
I love this.
Godfrey here.
Wow.
Who are these Negroes?
So beloved, here's
Kamala
the thing.
Harris,
when we
Vice President.
see something like this,
This other tap
sometimes
dancing.
it's good that this happens because it's showing that this is what happens when we are compromised. This is what it looks like when you are looking at a person that you think is a Black person or a melanated person or a pigmented person. Their mind has been completely hijacked. And they think it's completely logical. They're acting within a successfully colonized and compromised mind. That's what successful colonization looks like. When you are successfully colonized, when your mind is completely in white values, in European values, that's what Black people look like. And we have to show the truth by being the truth, but we have to know what the truth is first. And so sometimes there are certain things that come out that are just, you know, everybody's like, oh, Kamala Harris is the first Black this and the first Black that. Well, okay, granted, we all come from Africa, but Africa ain't in all of us. And so when we look at someone like that, and the other person that was talking about, there's no racism, it's just prejudice. That's a child. That's the 12-year-old that was talking about earlier. That's a child, grown, fully grown, educated within a European system, fully grown man, fully grown woman, but their mind is the mind of a 12-year-old, of a child. I talked about this, I think, 2 times ago when I was on the platform with you, where I was quoting The Man Not by Dr. Tommy J. Curry, and that they relegated the Black man, the African man, to that of a white preteen female. That's how they see us. And that's what that speaks perfectly to what Lady Adele was teaching earlier.
Thank you, brother. I allow you to continue and finish off your presentation. But brother, that was absolutely on point. I just wanted us to deal with that because a lot of our brothers and sisters see that all over the world and can be confused. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, you gave it clarity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you for pausing, taking the pause for the cause, because that was necessary and needed. Okay, let's hit our play button here and finish this out. So as I had mentioned, you cannot solve third and fourth frequency problems with the same mindset and mentality that created the problem. So that being said, the only way to pure mental freedom is invoking the executive spiritual intelligence of first frequency. So what excuse, let me ask you a few questions. What is your excuse and argument for losing? Do you watch endless YouTube videos, but don't take action on the information that's being shared? Literally right now, are you watching this and not going to do anything? Just going to say, oh, that was a great presentation, and go right back to your ants, worms, fears, go right back to your lizard brain, right back to your world? Or are you going to do something different today that you did not do yesterday and take an action to continue to take a deeper dive into the consciousness of who you are? Do you purchase tons of books, but either don't read them, finish them, or take any action on the information in them? See, this is why I'm putting this here, so you can see either yourself or perhaps a family member or someone in your community that you know, they'll buy every book, they can talk the talk, but they're still struggling. They're still not out. Why is that? So something is going on. So our beloved Dr. Wade Noble says we suffer from a shattered consciousness and a fractured identity. Well, what we just saw with Kamala Harris and what we would call dude was talking about, that's third frequency, man. That's a false racial identity and a false racial construct. And they think that they are safe because they've been living in this white world, this compromised white world. They don't know the racial battle fatigue that they're experiencing is literally shortening their life and their lifespan. So let's talk about remapping and the neuroscience of African success, creating a new neural network, making of a neural net. So from the day that you are born, your senses search for patterns that are recognized. This is the ancient African. Every time something is new to you, your senses have to experience the new sensation, and afterward, an emotional response is attached to that event. So once a pattern is created, every time your senses detect a similar pattern, you will immediately feel the originally programmed emotional response. So if I continue to lynch you, to beat you, and to rape you, every time you see a white person or what, you're going to remember that you're going to have an emotional response of submission and conformity and control. This will then steer your movement towards the situation or away from it or anywhere in between. So when we talk about creating a new neural network, what we got to do is we got to get with people like Brother Muhammad, Andrew Muhammad, and not just watch the presentation that is being presented. We have to embody it. We have to internalize it to overwrite the old neural network, because again, neurons that fire together, wire together, and install a new neural network. You will have moments where you feel like you are losing your mind. That is exactly where you should be, because in fact you are. You are losing your own mind. You're losing your third frequency, fourth frequency. You're losing your Negro consciousness. You're losing your nigger consciousness, and you're coming back home.
But brother, that is also the most scariest part too.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
Every human being wants to feel the feeling of security, even if it's in false knowledge. At least you feel secure. So when you go through that stage of losing your mind, that's the time you're not to give up. Because
that is absolutely, that is when you dig in and dig deep. That's when you keep going and dig in and dig deep. You're breaking the old neural connections of the old previous neural network and wiring a new neural network. The trick is repetition, bombardment, and saturation. That is the trick, if there is such a thing as a trick. It is about repetition, bombardment. It's overwhelming the senses with quality ma'at or ma'athian information. And being saturated in that every single day throughout the day. That way you are rewiring your brain to think African for the first time, and then to be African, to be first frequency, to move as a god and a goddess, to know who you are. Your language will change. Your friends and family will change. All of those things will change. Now, if you are someone who can't or feel some kind of way about your friends and family in the current environment that you've made comfortable, you're going to have a backfire effect. Remember, we talked about that. You're going to have a snap reality. You're going to go back to the way you used to be, or you're going to try to cheat Ma'at. You're going to try to cheat nature and make your false reality, your false racial construct more comfortable. And that's the lie, right? So I'm going to look rich on the outside, but be poor on the inside. I'm going to look evolved on the outside, but I'm really not evolved on the inside. This is the difference between change and just simply getting some new information in. Depending upon the value system shift of your intention, before the new neural network is launched, you will undergo every single emotion and sense of maddening isolation. So I know this has happened to Brother Andrew Muhammad going through his transition and moving up into his first frequency. There were moments where he felt like he was out of his damn mind. And also you feel very lonely, very isolated, because you don't have anybody else to talk to, because the people you were rocking with were on the same frequency and reality as you. Now you have grown, you have expanded, and the people that you were currently grooving with and rocking with, they don't understand you anymore. You sound crazy. And so guess what? They're trying to level and position you, minimize and marginalize you, make you feel guilty, and in some cases even get physically violent with you so that you will remain in their lower frequency that you once were. So this is what happens in families and in communities. One of us grows out of the family, out of the neighborhood, and then we're labeled a sellout because we leave the community, we move out of the community of a lower frequency. Now, the question is, somebody asks, somebody will say, you forgot where you came from. Absolutely. That is the goal, to forget Amu, to forget being a nigger, to forget being a good Negro, to let that go so I can grow into my original Ma'athian signal and frequency. Absolutely. So if at all possible, it is best that you have a mentor, a teacher, or some type of support group, or all of the above, in the help to in your growth process. And this is why Andrew is so radically important in our lives, is because he's a mentor. Now, we might not physically be able to hang out with him and sit down with him, but on his YouTube channel, there's enough content for if you watched it every single day and had it on throughout your day, possible for your frequency is possible. So this is what I call invoking radical self-evolution, RSE. Is a complete concentric sphere shift. What does that mean? It just simply means next level reality. So it's the process of shifting your value system, altering the ratio of your traits, characteristics, and your behaviors to create and sustain a new level of consciousness. Give you a perfect and true example. So Baba Kaba, when I met Baba Kaba, he struggled because I had given him a discounted rate to work with him. And he struggled to be able to come up with $150 a month. That was his reality. That was his concentric sphere. He was a school teacher. He learned how to be poor. The Hotep community has learned how to be poor. That's why no one respects us in this community, because we have a learned behavior of financial struggle and being poor. So I worked with him using these metaphysical principles and techniques and processes, and said, look, brother, I know for a fact that you deserve the contribution that you've made to humanity, to your people. There's no reason you should not be a 6- and 7-figure player. So let me work with you, and let's see if we can get you to an additional 5 figures. So after 4 years of working with him, 4 years, we moved him into an additional 5-figure income, where he was no longer needing to take out money from his retirement to pay his bills. And then, as I mentioned earlier, now once he got to that level of consciousness, he created a completely new neural network. And you can ask him about this, Brother Andrew, when he comes on the platform.
Yes, sir.
He created a new neural network. Now he's getting used to being a 6-figure player. He went to his accountant. This just happened in this last year. He went to his accountant that he's been with for 20 years. So here's the other thing. When you learn how to be helpless, when you learn how to suffer financially, when you learn how to be poor, you hire experts that keep you there. So for 20 years, he had this accountant who kept him in his poverty consciousness, didn't grow him. So when he went back to his accountant after making all this money, his accountant said, what the hell happened? What did you do? And he says, well, it's complicated. He grew. It's complicated. And so how do you sell $10,000 worth of books per month? How do you do that? How is that possible? Now his life is changed. He's not poor anymore. And so he, as we've been talking over the years, he goes back and forth. Sometimes he goes into that poverty consciousness. I'll have to call him out every now and again and say, brother, we can't do that because that's a poverty consciousness and you're operating from that old sense. And again, remember, I talked to you earlier about we have conditioned our community to seek this information free versus, and they'll go to a white person to pay for it, but they want this to be free. That's just not right. And so but you've learned how to be helpless and hopeless and then envy and hate someone who's charging you that looks like you, because again, that lizard brain has been compromised. Nothing's wrong with you. This is what happens to you. So in order to do this, you have to expand what I call your mental zip code, or eradicate the old zip code altogether. And this creates a quantum leap. I think I did that on my first appearance on your show. I talked about quantum leaping and quantum entanglement. And we also talked about identity crisis. So don't believe that you are first frequency. You must know you are first frequency. You are a god or goddess having this experience, and you can change it at any time you choose to do so. You're not helpless. You're not hopeless. Stop asking, what do I gotta do? What do I gotta do? It's the answer is already in you. In fact, you can't have a problem without a solution being simultaneously working together. You've just been taught to just see the problem. You haven't been taught how to solve the problem and get the solution. Know that you are the creator, having a third and fourth frequency trauma experience created by the rude interruption of second frequency Amu. Know that nothing has, can, and ever will be wrong with first frequency African people. Second frequency Amu happened to us. That's nothing's wrong with us. They happened to us. And as a result, we are going to think and ma'at and first frequency our way out of this mental bondage and enslavement that we are currently in. Now, one way we can do this, again, going back and talking about take action. Now, I have a Patreon because I have access to some of the greatest medical minds in the world. Just had Dr. Elaine Ferguson on. I would love for her to come onto your platform as well, Brother Andrew. She's a 30-year veteran medical doctor. She's of Ma'at, by Ma'at, first frequency African. She was one of the first doctors for Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright. And she knows all of this COVID vaccine, all of this lie, all of this crap. The problem is that because of this global government alliance, doctors can't talk about and tell the truth. They're being censored. Some of them are being killed. The majority are having their licenses stripped away. And people who have been in wellness and health for years, I'm talking about white folk now, are losing their income, losing their YouTube channels, losing everything. So I put the truth that I can't put on my YouTube channel and the research and the intel that I get from the experts in the world, I put it on my Patreon. So you can go there and you can get this information, and that way it won't be compromised, because some of the stuff, the real stuff, I can't put on YouTube, can't put on Facebook. That has an algorithm that detect that we're talking about certain things, I can't put the truth on there. I just put information on there. So on Patreon, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/RevShock. Join and get the information that you need. And I also can dialogue with you. And I'm going to be doing some private live streams on there, bringing on some of these experts to talk about what is going on and what we need to do about it. Again, free 6-day video e-course. You can enroll in that in shock metaphysics, learn everything from Baba Kaba. Dr. Leonard Jeffries, actually, I think I can say this. I hold the largest video archive, teaching video archive of Dr. Leonard Jeffries in history. That's what the Kemetic Wisdom School has. It's the largest library, video library of Dr. Leonard Jeffries and his teaching. One of the most brilliant scholars of our times. Baba Smalls is there with us. Dr. David Imhotep, Dr. William A. Smith, who coined the research racial battle fatigue, Nicola Hurst. There's a sundry of great scholars and scholarship. You can also enroll in our free Affinity e-course. So this is an e-course that goes on for an entire year that just basically brings you up in the first frequency, teaches you the principles and processes of how to, again, bombardment, saturation, and repetition. It's about engulfing your senses with all of this information, but then internalizing that information so it becomes transformation. That's the difference. A lot of us are going after information. We got a lot of information, but we're not transforming. So I want you to practice first frequency specificity on a daily basis. And by doing so, you're invoking the law of 7. So I want you to repeat this 7 times a day, 7 days a week. I am one with first frequency. I am one with the first thought idea. I am one with the firstborn people. I am one with the only one. Ashe, and so it is. Uncle Jobson, that family. Thank you, brother Andrew. Thank you, family. Thank you, community, for allowing me to share with you and be with you.
Just before you finish, because we have gone way over time, but brother, when we got a king like you, brother, we have to pull out all the stops. Brother, can you just share that last screen again? The
affirmation.
The affirmation, or
absolutely. Let me see if can you
I
see
know
that?
a lot of people are making notes of that because we want to put that into action now. I know a lot of the Hidden Truth platform is already doing it based on your teachings, but I would like us just.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's the one there, brother. That's the one there. So, brothers and sisters, please make a note of that. I'm gonna commit it to my memory pattern, and I will start doing that every single day. Did you say 7 times a day, brother?
7 times a day. I wake up every morning, and this is what I do. My goddess and I will hold each other's hands, and we'll repeat the affirmation again and again. It gives us a shield, an armor of protection, and it also allows all the information that we're taking in to become transformative, because we are one with the one. We are first frequency people. We always have been. We always will be. We don't die. We multiply. We have to remember. We have to awaken and reawaken and remember who we are.
Brother, I can't, every time you come onto this platform, brother, I have to say the 3 most powerful words in the universe. I love you.
Likewise, beloved.
I'm not even saying that to make you laugh, brother. This is
I love you back.
I see you, my king. I really do see you, brother. And you absolutely smellified this this platform onto another level, brother. And it's the smell of success.
I got smelly again. I made it to the smelly level. Okay, great.
You totally.
That's all I needed to know. You made my day. I'm gonna tell my goddess when she comes in. I said, baby, I smell today. I smell really bad.
Now, Jarita's been waiting.
That's what the UK said.
Brother, can you make me fall in love with you all over again? I'm gonna give Jarita and yourself 5 more minutes, brother, just to answer some questions. Now, brother, in order to make Jarita smile, because Jarita doesn't really smile unless you're coming at a first frequency.
Stop lying, man. Stop lying.
It's hard to please this queen, okay? So, brother, if you can make the answers as short as possible so she can get through as many questions.
Wow, okay.
In 5 minutes. Jarita?
Sure, I do the best I can. Absolutely.
First things first, though, I just want to say well done on your work with your doctorate. I'm currently doing mine. I'm 3 years in, and it beats my butt on the best of days. So I know your struggle right now. So well done for keeping that going. Let's get to the first question. First question I've got for you is a question that was asked last week by Andrew, actually, and he says, what frequency does first frequency vibrate on? And should we be vibrating in line with the universe? And Jackie asks, can you enhance that vibration by using instruments for music?
And that's not me, brother. When she said Andrew.
No. Andrew Stephen, sorry.
Yeah.
That was good. Well, I know Andrew already is living first frequency. He's the embodiment of it. So first frequency is because everything on the planet, everything in the world, everything in the universe vibrates. It's a frequency. And so when I started doing and taking all of these different ologies and sciences that I've been over the last 30, 40 years, that there was something to the fact and the reason that the Creator created an African first as the archetype of humanity, as the archetype of a human being. Why was that done? I was the African to populate the and chosen to mass. They were the first thought idea of the Creator. We are the firstborn. we are the first gestation. And so that is where first frequency, the term and the concept came from. It is ma'at. It is the cosmic signal of the universe. To second question to answer, yes, you can use music to enhance your first frequency. There's a concept that Brother Billy Bird has produced called the Black Room. And we're going to be bringing that out in a bigger way moving forward. But it's basically where you have a room and there's no white anything in it. There's no white images, there's no white music, there's no white sounds, nothing European. Everything is black. Your artifacts is black, blackety black. And in that black room, it's analogous to going back into the cosmic womb, the black cosmic womb, or the nun, where you're able to manipulate time and space, collapse times and space, to manipulate matter, to be able to then move Ptah or invoke Ptah to create a tomb, to move ourselves forward. Now, all of us can't afford a black room. So I literally, if I can show you, I have what I call my temporary black room, and that is a blindfold that I put on, and I'm in the black room. And I will use some noise canceling headphones that I have, and I am back into the cosmic womb. Music enhances that. Ganja, all of that enhances. To do my affirmations in the black room of prosperity. Go ahead. Hopefully that was quick.
Great. I'm going to we've got two more. So the first one is from Dee. She also asked about, can we help with creating new neural pathways with dancing? She apparently did a Zumba exercise class tonight. So I knew I could see somebody jumping up and down through the window. So I think that was Dee. I could see you. She's asking, can we increase those things with dance?
And it looks like his screen has now shut down. Oh wow. We give him a few more seconds. We still got over 400 plus. Oh, are you there? Are you there, Reverend? Oh, it looks like it's just in the meantime. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. We still got over 400 plus people on the.
You're garbled. I can't.
I want to give a shout out to Sister Augustina, all the way from Ireland. My God, I know we get people from all over the world, man. But I want to give a shout out to our sister from Ireland. Absolutely fantastic to see you, our queen. And you know, you got to let us know what's it like in Ireland right now, because to know that our people are out there, we are with you, Sister Augustina. Thank you so much. Reverend, are you back with us? Oh,
you're muted.
You're on mute, brother. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it dropped, and I didn't get the last question. It was garbled, and then I dropped the thing went black. Go ahead. What's the question?
Okay, so we've got a person on called Dee, who says that showing off that she's done a Zumba exercise class tonight while we've all been sitting here probably eating lots of food. She wants to know, can we increase or make new neural pathways with dance?
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
With what? With dance?
With dance, yes.
Is that the question, with dance?
Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes. Because all dance comes from Africa. Everything comes from Africa. So absolutely. So it gets us into a transient state, and into that transient state, we're able to connect with the one, and that's how that manifests. Yes.
Great. And
you guys are in slow motion right now. Okay.
Oh no. Oh no. We've got more questions again about kinds of music. That you said that you were listening to music in a black room, but you weren't very specific on the kind of music. Oh no, this is.
It depends on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Or is there a delay? Okay, because I think there's a delay. So the kind of music I listen to depends upon the kind of mood that I want to get into. So I do listen to old school hip hop because it has that African drum. So that's very important. And I do listen to positive hip hop and positive rap. I don't listen to anything that's talking about bitches and hoes and thugs and thoughts and degrading our people. So that's not the frequency that I'm trying to invoke. But I also, in my book, Digitanomics, I listen to binaural beats, solfeggio frequencies, and isochronic frequencies. In Digitanomics, you can go there, and I mapped out all the different frequencies that you can listen to that really thrust you into the waters of none. And so doing that on a daily basis, it's so restorative because we're constantly being bombarded by these second frequency signals from the Amu and racial battle fatigue. By going into the Black Room and listening to binaural beats, solfeggio frequencies, and isochronics, you restore the balance. And then you also create a shield, a mental, spiritual shield, where you can go into hell, but not go to hell. So you can go into it, but not go there.
Okay, last question, sir. And I guess there's been a few questions about, I guess, us taking some responsibility. I know you've said throughout your presentation today, it's not our fault. I guess we've been made to be this way, but there is a sense of we need to kind of take some responsibility and put ourselves back
accountability. Yes.
There have been some people asking about mentoring, and perhaps if you offer any mentoring that they could contact you for. So I'm not too sure if you've got anything that you could recommend for that, or if you do any mentoring yourself, that would be.
I am doing some of that through Patreon, not necessarily one-on-one. So right now it's in a group. What you will learn and discover is there's one of me and billions of you. And so it's one of those things where I have to do what I do in a group situation in order to make it affordable because of the time that it takes. We're talking about reverse engineering, social engineering, and that takes time. That takes a moment. And again, it's bombardment, saturation, and repetition. You can go to our Patreon on RevShock, patreon.com/RevShock. And there's definitely some mentoring that can manifest there.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you so much, Reverend. We're gonna really have to round it up there. Jarita's got through as many as she can. I know there's more. Brother, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you,
God. Thank you, Goddess.
Absolutely had people in tears, in joy, in fits of laughter, in a state of reflection. We can't wait to see you back on this platform again, brother. And we just bow to you, brother. I mean, sincerely bow to you. You can see the fact that so many people are still on the platform, brother. We thank you so much. Jarita, we thank you so much. Always push that button to make sure that we get as many views as done as possible. We want to give a shout out to Lady Adele again for partnering with our brother tonight in the remapping of the African mind. I mean, that was answered tenfold tonight. Absolutely brilliant. Big shout out to Brother Hugh. Make sure we vote for that brother. Absolutely fantastic. And brothers and sisters, you're with the Hidden Truth. Don't forget, you are with the Hidden Truth tonight. And we thank you in all of your forms tonight, brothers and sisters. And just to remind you that next week we got the brother that he spoke about, Professor Kabar Kamene. Yeah, the power of life.